A shiver ran down. Ew, 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 ew. Oh, I didn't like how that panned like that. Oh, frick. Oh, no, they have a CG for that. Oh, gross. I made that plea in my head. When? Oh, I knew it. I knew it was gonna be a knife. I knew it. I knew it.
I'll take it all.
Ew. All of the students around us screamed and ran off in a panic. Oh, jeez.
Nishijo Takumi?
I nodded in response. Is that it? That was just, it was just that? That was the bad one? How was that bad? That was just him being a weirdo. What the frick? Okay, whatever. No, frick! I spoke too soon! Her thighs were smooth and voluptuous. Don't do it. Don't do it to me. This is the bad ending, dude. Or the bad delusion. Come on. Hey, hey, hey! What the frick? These are the red delusions, bro! Come on, man!
What are you?
Shut up! What the frick? Ah! I was used to seeing girls in swimsuits. The pain made me cry even harder. The pain made me... There were women out there who just loved asking... How's it going, everybody? HoodlaMutt here, back with some more Chaos Head Noah. And last time we finished the game, for better or worse. And now we are going to try and get all of the delusions. I mistakenly, or I suppose I should say over-expectedly, I don't know, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say there, thought that I'd be able to do this all in one video. That's probably not true. It will probably take at least 2. So we will see, though. We'll see. Maybe this is just a really long episode. But regardless, we're going to start by doing the neutral options first. I want to see if there's any of those that I missed, because I have a feeling that's the one that I have the least amount left of. And then we'll do the negative ones, and we'll leave the positive ones for last, because I'm afraid of them. So, without further ado, let's just get into this, shall we? Yeah, so I'm probably not going to have any particular context to any of these delusions. I'm just going to have to try to, like, remember where they are in the story by seeing all the crap that's zipping by me right now, so. Okay, so, about 20-something minutes later, we are at the part where Takumi is super depressed, and he was gonna walk into the street, and I guess I must have always done the negative route, or a delusion or whatever, for this particular section every time, because it stopped me here. So, I guess we can start reading here. I brought my heavy legs one step forward. In this place free of traffic lights, I staggered onto the road. I had a feeling that salvation awaited me there. A glaring brightness from a pair of headlights, a discordant noise of a car horn, the unnerving sound of squealing tires. Come on. Kill me. Kill this fake me. This unsightly monster. Kill me. Did he get hit? Oh, he didn't get hit in this one. But no matter how long I waited, the impact never came. I opened my eyes. A car was stopped right in front of me. I was still standing on the road, on my own 2 feet. The driver got out and started shouting at me about something. He shoved me as he kept on screaming. Why? I broke down crying then and there. Why won't you run me over? Why won't anyone save me? Why won't anyone release me? Was a fake not even worth killing? Oh, okay. That's all that was then. Right? Yeah, that was it. Okay. So he just doesn't get hit by the car. Interesting. Okay, well that was it. There was just that one neutral option that I hadn't picked, so I had a feeling it was going to be only a few, but dang, that took me... I've been recording for 30 minutes, and that was probably only like friggin' 2 minutes of footage. Maybe, not even. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the negative delusions. And so now we got some legwork to do because I barely did any of the negative delusions the whole game. So let's get into it. Okay, so I think right off the bat we got this one. We will find out really quick though. We'll zoom through it after I hit this, and we'll see. I don't think I did this though. Yeah. Okay, so this is when we're supposed to be going to see the murder or whatever, so I guess we will read this then. I felt like it should have been obvious to him how much I didn't want to go and see a puddle of blood and gore. It would have been way too much for me. It wouldn't be like a haunted house or a horror movie or something. People had actually died IRL, and the killer was still on the loose. So wherever the murderer was likely to be, I'd have liked to be anywhere but there. Still, I was curious about the murderer. What could have possibly been their motive? Were they just a psychopath that committed crimes for the heck of it? That was probably the most reasonable explanation. Well, whatever. It didn't really matter to me. I mean, I was a serial killer too. And even though I'd killed hundreds, people still treated me like a hero. That was an ESO though. Lol. Just goes to show how much better the 2D world is. Anyway, as I tried my hardest to turn down Miss Mikun's proposal, I imagined myself like a brawler straight out of some fighting game. A psycho killer? If I ran into a guy like that, I'd turn him into mincemeat. In my delusions, I could kill or spare anyone I wanted. But the people who actually tried to live out those sorts of delusions were idiots. Didn't they know that real-life actions had real-life consequences? Even the new-gen killer would be caught eventually, and then they'd rot in prison for years, decades even, just waiting to be sent to the gallows. If I could say one thing to them, it'd be, what a pity. You really should have just kept your delusions to yourself. Oi! Okay. Oh yeah, he ends up in the alley. Okay. Oh, there's a bloody bag. Gross. Or something. I went out to buy myself some dinner. I took the road that I always used to get to my local convenience store. It was only a 3-minute walk from my base. I'd walked down this dirty alley more times than I could count. But for some reason, walking through it today, I couldn't help but feel as if I'd stepped into another world. The alley was the same as ever, but it felt like it was the first time I'd ever set foot in it. What's more, the stench of rotting garbage was lingering in the air. The moisture in the atmosphere was so thick, if I hadn't known any better, I'd have assumed that it'd just been raining. The air was like syrup on my skin. That's when I noticed it. There was something on the ground at the far end of the alley. At first glance, I thought it was a garbage bag from the convenience store, so I kept on walking without paying it any mind. But once I'd gotten a bit closer... Oh, it's a cat! Oh, I thought that was a bag. Oh no. I realized what it really was. A dead cat. Ugh. Blood and feces were pouring out from it. It was such a morbid sight that I had to avert my eyes. A shiver ran down. Ew, 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 ew! Oh, I didn't like how that panned like that. That was really jarring. Gross. A shiver ran down my spine and goosebumps spread across my skin. I turned around to head back the way I came. But behind me was another cat. A black cat. an alive one, staring at me with radiant golden eyes. What the heck? As soon as I spoke, the cat dashed away into the shadows. For some reason I couldn't explain, I was now feeling really uncomfortable. I figured I should just get going already, but since the dead cat was in the way of my normal route, I decided to take the long way to the store. But just as I was about to head off, I realized something. This whole time, I'd been hearing a strange noise coming from somewhere. With a gulp, I started listening closely. Ew. Oh, gross. They tried to jump scare me. Well, that sucked. I was sitting behind a computer monitor. I chugged down a cola to quench my thirst, then leaned back in my chair. So, like, if I would have gotten that the first time around, I probably would have thought that cat was important. I'd have been like, ooh, what is he supposed to be? What's he mean? What's any of that mean? You know, but knowing now is just nothing. That was a horrible delusion. All that talk of gory crap must have gotten to my head. Whenever something really got to me like that, I tended to have all sorts of weird delusions about it. Stuff so bad, it surprised even me. And even though they were just delusions, there were still a lot of times where they genuinely affected me and how I was feeling. My imagination was just too powerful for my own good. Especially in cases like these where I didn't have the full story. Whenever that happened, my mind always went wild, filling in the blanks with the worst things I could think of. Sometimes it was so terrifying that it actually made me scream. Of course, that'd be fine if I were back at my base, but if I did that in public, I'd attract all sorts of unwanted attention. Alright, and then that's it. That's gotta be it, right? Yep. Okay. Okay, we got this one. What's this one with Nanami gonna be? Oh no. I know I didn't do this one, so here we go. This is her wanting cola right now. Dang it. Who the heck did she think she was? Acting like such a freaking princess. Sure, go ahead. Drink so much cola that you destroy your stomach and get sent to the emergency room. Then I can finally relax and spend some time alone. You know what the funny thing is too, thinking now, why did he hate her so much? Because when Takumi created him, he really loved his sister, so why didn't he create a love for his sister into Delusion Takumi? How did that change? You know what I mean? Like, because he'd only been alive for a month, he didn't really have time to hate his sister, right? So either that was inside of the real Takumi and then got imprinted onto Delusion Takumi, or it was like something that he just created for himself within a month's worth of time, I guess. So, I don't know, that's kind of weird to think about. If only that would actually happen. Oi. Suddenly, Nanami let out a groan. And as soon as she did, she dropped the bottle of soda, splashing cola everywhere. It spilled all over the manga magazines and CDs I'd left down there. What? Don't mess up my room, I was about to say, but then I realized what was happening. Nanami's eyes had shot wide open, and her hands were pressed against her neck. She looked like she was in immense pain. Her mouth repeatedly flapped open and closed like a carp. Nanami? She was vomiting blood. Red blood. Actually, it was closer to dark brown, splashed onto the floor, mixing with the spilled cola. Oh, frick! Oh no, they have a CG for that! Oh, gross! Oh no! Ugh. That sucks. And then, she lost her strength and collapsed That would have freaked me the frick out if we would have gotten that the first time. Her entire body convulsed as she writhed in agony. She clawed at her own neck with her fingernails. Her legs spasmed as she thrashed around on the floor. She didn't seem to care at all that this was causing her skirt to flip up, exposing her panties. Bro? Are you for real? In this one too? Dude, that would have freaking... Oh my gosh, that would have triggered me. It triggers me now. And I already know what happens. I already know this is a delusion. Holy crap, that would have triggered me. This might seem a little in poor taste, but when I saw the way that she was acting, I thought that she looked just like a fish on a chopping board. I didn't know what to do, so I just covered my ears. But that didn't help. I could still hear my sister's dying screams. Before long, her face was completely covered in drool, blood, and tears, and her body finally stopped trembling. Nanami? I reluctantly tried calling out to her, but there was no response. She was just lying there, in a pretty compromising position. The smell of ammonia hit my nose. Had she wet herself? Or had I? Gently, ever so gently, I poked her shoulder. She didn't move a muscle. Although I was a little scared, I gathered the courage to bring my ear to her lips. She wasn't breathing. She was dead. Nanami was dead. It was like she'd been poisoned. The kind of thing you'd see all the time on TV. And that was when it hit me. I must have poisoned my own cola to kill Nanami. I was sure of it. Why did you kill her? Oh, frick, yeah, that would have sucked, getting that in the beginning. Oh, man, that was kind of wild. Obviously, it'd been just another one of my delusions, but it still made me sick to my stomach. That whole thing had definitely been a bit much. Sure, Nanami could be really annoying, but that delusion had been way too graphic. I should have just left her at 1 HP, not freaking one-shotted her.
What's wrong?
After finishing her cola, Nanami shot me a confused look.
You look a little pale.
I just shook my head a little. I'm sorry.
Sorry for what?
I'm sorry. Even if it was just a delusion, I treated you horribly. I'm sorry. But that's only because I can't stand your bratty attitude. I hate it so much that I took it out on you inside my head. Would it kill you to understand that?
You really don't need to apologize. It's not like I'm mad at you for not having milk tea or anything. And besides, for what it's worth, I like cola too.
Wait. Did she just drink all my cola? I take back my apology. Nanami doesn't deserve it at all. I hope she gets her stomach torn open and bleeds out. Dude, come on. And then that's gotta be it, right? Yeah, that was it. Okay. Dang, that was pretty brutal, dude. That was gruesome right off the bat. Oh yeah, and this is when you was following us, so yeah, we never did the negative delusion here either, so... Oh boy, is she gonna become a psycho? Let's see. Right then, her glasses flashed white. Maybe they were reflecting the headlights of passing cars. Then, I heard a sound. Her lips twisted into a curve, forming a smile that seemed closer to a sneer. Even though we were so far apart, even though there were so many people around, the girl's soft laugh reached my ears, clear as day. If I hadn't heard her so clearly, I would have thought she was simply exhaling. She laughed again, and then she suddenly rolled up the hem of her skirt. Countless shining objects fell to the ground and scattered every which way. I thought they were going to have a CG of her running across the thing toward us. That would have been scary. That would have been pretty crazy, like if she was just running at us like a psycho. That would have been pretty great. Oh man, I'm kind of sad they didn't do that. They looked like crosses. Images of the stakes from the crucifixion incident flashed inside my mind. Oh, okay, that kind of works too, but it would have been better to have like one that she's actually like running at us. That would have been creepy. Her expression looked completely insane. Only her lips were smiling. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her cheeks twitched erratically. Then she shoved through the crowd and leapt onto the crosswalk, despite the fact that the pedestrian signal was still red. What was she thinking? I cowered in fear. I thought about running, but I couldn't move an inch. My legs were practically rooted to the cement. I couldn't even speak. The girl was drawing closer. She was crossing the road, gripping a cross-shaped stake in her hand. Stay back! Ew! Ooh, okay, that kind of sucks, yeah, okay, alright, that works too. Dude, her eyes, they changed her eyes for this too. I made that plea in my head. When? Oh my gosh! Yo, what the frick? Dude, it's almost better going through these, knowing how it ends and knowing that these are all delusions and seeing them like this, because once I got used to the fact that it was all delusions, I was like, well, what's the point of clicking a delusion if I know it's fake, right? If I know it's not actually going to matter or mean anything. So seeing them all back to back like this and just like imagining what my reaction would have been is kind of more fun, I'm not going to lie. Girl A's body was sent flying by an oncoming truck. Screams resounded around me. The crowd was blocking my view, so I couldn't see what had happened to the girl. But I could tell. She was dead. There was no doubt about it. She was dead. She was lying in a heap on the street, covered in blood, like some kind of sopping wet, tattered dish rag that was just begging to be thrown away. Thank God, I thought instinctively. Not that I was proud of myself for thinking that way. Dang. I suddenly snapped out of it. I was swamped in a sickly cold sweat. The pedestrians had just been screaming in shock, but now they were calmly waiting for the pedestrian signal to change. There was no truck anywhere in sight. And that girl with the glasses was still on the other side of the street, staring at me like she'd been doing the entire time. Had that been just a delusion? The pedestrian signal turned green. All the pedestrians started crossing at once. I couldn't move. And Girl A didn't move either. She didn't laugh, nor did she roll up her skirt, nothing like that. She just stood there, staring me down. We were the only ones standing still, as if time had frozen for just the two of us. Why was she not crossing the street? Why was she just standing there? It was really strange. Really, really strange. I needed to stay away from her. I should just run. I'll just run straight home. Run! Alright, that's gotta be it, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, dude, that was, I mean, they kind of did it. I just wanted to see one where it was actually like a different CG of her like leaping toward us or something. Like that, that would have been kind of gross, but that kind of worked too, so that was fine. All right, here's the next one. So we know that this is when she came back with us to our base. So what is this negative delusion gonna be? Oh boy.
Nishijo-kun, I love you. I've had my eyes on you for a long, long time now, Nishijo-kun. But just looking at you isn't enough anymore.
Oh, she's gonna become Yandere, isn't? Oh, she's gonna become Yandere, isn't she? Oh no. Oh, maybe not. I have a feeling she's gonna like pull out a knife. Yua's face turned bright red, and right after this sudden confession, she started fishing around in her bag. She must have been looking for something. This is the same CG, only this one doesn't have the swimsuit, so that's interesting.
I want all of you to be mine. I've thought about it a lot.
I knew it! I knew it was gonna be a knife! I knew it! I knew it! I freaking called that. Oh my gosh, it's kind of fun guessing like how it's gonna be screwed up.
And I've come up with the most lovely way to achieve just that.
She finally pulled something out of her bag. A brand new kitchen knife. Its blade glimmered with light reflected from my desk lamp. I just stood there, staring at her like an idiot. That was all I could do. Things were happening so suddenly, my mind could hardly keep up. It took all my strength just to swallow the saliva that had built up in my mouth.
You see, I love you. I love you too much for me to bear. I just can't take it anymore.
Yua grasped the knife in her hand tightly. So tightly, in fact, her fingers were turning pale. And then, she swung the blade toward me. I shook my head frantically, doing everything in my power to get her to stop, but it didn't seem like I could get through to her anymore.
I'll take it all. Your flesh. Your bones. Your skin. Your intestines. Your brain. Your eyeballs. And of course, your unmentionables. I'll take it all.
Ooh, 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 no, that jump scare, bro. Dude, I missed out on all these jump scares, yo. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, frick, I skipped that. Hold on, I'll friggin', hold on, I'll add it in.
I'll take it all and eat it.
Dude, freaking, she turned into Light Yagami again. What's up with this, like, slight little, like, things that remind me of Death Note? I'll take it all and eat it. And as she screamed, Yua lunged straight for my chest. Suddenly, I felt a dull impact and an intense pressure. I looked down at my chest. It was the tip of the kitchen knife, sinking deep into my body. Yua let out a moan near my ear, dripping with ecstasy. The knife gouged my flesh, my bones. And yet, I couldn't feel any pain. Which could only mean one thing. This was all a delusion. Ah, he recognized it that time. Interesting. Oh yeah, there it is, Yandere. Holy crap! That was way, 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 way too freaking scary. Yandere girls are freaking terrifying. I knew it was just a delusion, but it was so intense. It left me with a lingering dread that gave me goosebumps. Ah! While I was lost in my usual delusions, Yua suddenly had a huge fall and landed flat on her rear. She rubbed her butt while on the verge of tears.
Oh no. I think I just tripped over one of your CDs. The case might have broken. I'm really, really sorry. I'll make sure to clean it up.
It's fine. Just get out of here already. You've done enough. And what the heck was that request you mentioned earlier? Wait, is that it? Oh, that is it. Okay. Yeah, it still had me go a little bit further. Wow, yeah. That was kind of fun too. Dude, just the jump scares that they're kind of trying to do. They needed like music with them to really give you that feeling though of a jump scare, cuz like it doesn't quite impact quite the same way without it. Okay, this one. Now, I can't remember. I think I did I think I did neutral. I don't think I did do negative. Let's see. We'll find out. For the bag? No, I didn't. Okay. So he remembered the bag in the cafe. Okay. It was in room 36. Whenever I went to At Cafe, I always used room 37. Meanwhile, room 36, the room next door, was always empty. But last week, the day I'd first met Yua, I'd been shocked to find that someone was actually using it. And they were looking at sites dedicated to New Gen, no less. Then, I'd come across Yua inside At Cafe, started panicking, then instantly made a run for it. No way. You can't be serious. Was it really her? Back then? In that room? I looked at Yua, who was still sitting on the bench. Her eyes stared at me from behind her glasses, and her gaze collided with mine. It was the first time we'd properly made eye contact since we'd met. There was still a smile on her face for a brief moment, but it quickly changed into a puzzled look. What sort of expression was I making? I couldn't tell. I turned my gaze toward her bag, toward the toy straps attached to it, once again. I felt the air change as she gasped in response.
Nishicho-kun?
A golden leaf fell off of a branch swaying in the wind, and ever so gently, ever so gracefully, danced through the air. All sorts of thoughts flashed through my mind. I didn't really understand why, but ghetto froggies were popular, so having a few of them dangling from your bag wasn't anything unusual. But on that day, Yua had probably been there, in room 36, and all this time, she'd never mentioned it even once. And to make matters worse, she'd been researching New Gen. Oy! I'd almost completely forgotten about those incidents already, but I'd been a witness in one of them. That gruesome spectacle revived itself again in my mind, and then I saw a flash of the culprit's face.
Is it about these things? They're called ghetto froggies. Some friends started giving them to me, and before I knew it, I already had 3 of them.
Yua's smile had gotten slightly stiffer. She reached out for her bag, trying to take the ghetto froggy straps off of it.
They've gotten very popular with high school girls recently. I don't really find them that cute, but...
Yua's hands were trembling. She frantically tried to pull them off of her bag, but they just wouldn't budge.
This is strange. Why aren't they coming off? Wait just a moment, please. I'll give you a closer look as soon as I get them.
Yua pulled on the straps a bit too hard, causing the bag to fall off the bench. The bag was unzipped, so all of her notebooks and textbooks spilled out onto the ground.
Silly me. I'm all over the place today.
Just a few minutes ago, I might have even thought of Yua's ditziness as moe. But at the present moment, I was just frozen in place. And that was because one of the fallen notebooks had flipped open. Tons of notes and newspaper snippets were scattered across the ground. It looked like it was some sort of scrapbook. And all the notes, all the newspaper snippets, everything was focused on a certain string of cases. And its name was written there, clear as day. New Gen. Why? My voice came out ragged. Yua, in a panic, started frantically gathering everything up and shoving it back into her bag. So wait, is that it? Is that... Oh, that's it. Okay, so now we're done. Okay, got you. Okay, so nothing really too different there, just that he started thinking about the crucifixion case again. All right, now we got this one. I can't even imagine what this one's going to be for something bad, so I guess we'll find out. She opened the door to the examination room and was greeted by the doctor's smiling face. How can I help you today? Ignoring the question, she examined her surroundings. The examination room was not particularly large. Is the she Hazuki-san? Or... it's not Seiratan, right? Atop the doctor's desk sat one blank medical chart, then another that was filled out in a language that was not Japanese. They called her a demon. Everyone did. Even her own parents. Had she always been a demon? Or did everyone calling her one cause her to become one? After all this time, it did not matter to her either way. Regardless, she had slaughtered 8 people over the past month or so. Society called it madness, casting her actions into the realm of infamy. But from her perspective, they were nothing more than numbers. She was a demon after all. Is something the matter? If there's anything troubling you, you're welcome to tell me about it. I'll do whatever I can to help. He was very sensitive to the needs of his patients, something befitting of a psychiatrist. Finding this truly heartwarming, she opened the bag she had brought along, and from that bag, she slowly took out a 24-centimeter-long kitchen knife. Wait, who is this? Or perhaps changing to a more spacious room would... The doctor cut his offer short upon seeing the knife. His face stiffened. Sensing his terror, she gave a gentle smile. The doctor would be the 9th. He had not been her intended target, but she might as well make the most of her opportunity. Placing her bag on the ground, she approached the doctor with long, soundless strides. Then, maintaining her fierce momentum, she flew toward the doctor's chest and plunged the knife deep inside. The knife slipped past his ribcage, reaching his heart. That single thrust had spelled the end of the doctor's life. The doctor, now no more than an object to her, collapsed against her body. For a moment, she supported his weight so that she could remove the knife. And then, once she was done, she knocked the object away with her elbow. Oh, it was Hazuki. Or not, maybe? No, she just was seeing it? Ah! The object was lying face up on the floor. Its white coat dyed a deep crimson. The nurse who had run over to investigate the commotion let out a scream. In one large step, she trampled over the doctor's corpse and slashed at the nurse with the knife. Fresh blood danced through the air. While it was no fatal wound, it likely etched a rough scar on the docile-looking nurse's face. So is this... No, this is supposed to be like Dini or something, right? They're not saying who the she is. It's gotta be. With a scream, the nurse clutched at her face and crashed to the floor. Oceans of blood spilled out from the gaps between her fingers. Ignoring this, she continued toward the back of the examination room. The 10th would not be the nurse. It was a momentous occasion. The 10th. Double digits. So it had to be the target she had originally come for. Everything around her was chaos. The other patients and nurses had long since screamed and ran away. But she did not lend an ear to their cries. She simply searched for him. Someone who was most definitely there. Takumi? Her eyes stopped on a curtain. The curtain was partitioning off a section of the room that was between 2 to 3 square meters large. A section that likely contained a bed. There you are. Her heart trembled with jubilation. The sheer thought of killing him made her nether regions grow hot. Ew! Oh, I hate that you can kind of see him through it. She slowly closed the gap between her and the curtain. Then, instead of opening it normally, she slashed it open with the knife. And when she peeked through the newly opened gap, he was lying on the bed, just like she had expected him to be. I found you. Now that she had seen him, she could not contain herself any longer. She pushed her way through the curtain, and now she stood right by the bed. He was sleeping with a slightly pained expression on his face. She combed her fingers through his hair, stroking it ever so gently. He did not awaken. Gripping the knife with both hands, with an underhand grip, she raised her arms high above. Her target was simple. His heart. With a single thrust, just like the doctor before you, I'll put you to rest. Overwrought with feelings of pure rapture, with every ounce of strength she had, she swung down the knife. Oh, dang. I sprang up, only to find myself on the bed like before. My heart was pounding like crazy. I checked my chest. There was no wound anywhere, nor was there any blood. I was unharmed. I examined my surroundings. The curtain was closed, and it definitely hadn't been slashed open with a kitchen knife. I carefully placed my hand on the curtain, and when I opened it, I saw the doctor and Hazuki-san collapsed on the floor, covered in blood. When that delusion appeared in my mind, I began to tremble all over again. That was just a dream. Yeah. But I couldn't work up the courage to open the curtain. What if there was a sea of blood right past it? What if the demon girl was standing there holding a knife? The terror of those thoughts completely incapacitated me. Then, right at that moment, the curtain was opened from the outside. I couldn't help but scream, and I tumbled off the bed.
Is everything all right?
Yes. I timidly looked up at her. Hazuki-san was looking down at me with wide eyes. Her white coat had no trace of blood, and her face didn't have any stab wounds either.
I'm very sorry for giving you such a fright. I didn't think you were awake, which is why I came in.
Oh, yes, well, no. Gosh, I was pathetic. With my head still hanging down, I sluggishly rose to my feet. My heart was beating out of my chest, and it just wouldn't stop. But thank God it'd been just a dream. It was like watching a horror movie.
Are you sure you're all right?
Hazuki-san peered at my face, her worry evident. I felt beyond embarrassed, so I couldn't look up at her. Just nodding was the best I could do.
You must have been having a bit of a bad dream.
I had a scary dream.
I see.
What time was it? How long had I slept for? I asked Hazuki-san that very question. Surprisingly enough, I'd slept for a full 3 hours. I guess I'd been more exhausted than I realized.
But ultimately, you showed no signs of sleepwalking.
Hazuki-san's reassuring voice conveyed that to me.
Well, it's possible that symptoms didn't occur today by chance, so we can't definitely say that you haven't been sleepwalking.
No, I really don't think I'm a sleepwalker, so... He did sleepwalk one time, though, didn't he? Don't you remember that? Why did that happen? Do you remember? Like, way toward the beginning at some point? So, like, we did think he was sleepwalking to some degree, or that someone was controlling him. And then that just never happened again. I just thought about that. So, like, what the heck? Did they ever explain that? I don't think they did. More importantly, I had to ask the doctor that really important question. But I couldn't see him anywhere. As I looked around, Hazuki-san handed me a blank form. Not really focusing all that hard, I took it from her and ran my eyes over it. It was a fill-in-the-blank style form. Is that it? That's gotta be it. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And then we got the form, which I'm just gonna skip, so... Yeah, so that's interesting, though. They never did go back to that. I wonder if there's a reason for that. Huh. Okay. If any of you know, let me know in the comments. Okay, then we got this one at the computer, which is... Oh, yeah, where he says, like, hey, Neidhart, I think this is where he's like, are you real? All right, so we'll click negative. We'll see what this is. And then... the monitor was enveloped in a dazzling light. Taken aback by how random and sudden it was, I shut my eyes. Did you think I wouldn't notice? I heard a voice. I've followed your orders ever since my conception. The voice was coming from the monitor. I didn't expect my player to be this much of a fool. Who are you? I tried opening my eyes, but the light from before had completely paralyzed me. I couldn't see a thing. I've had enough. I'm casting you out. I'll live freely from now on. No way. Are you... Neidhart? What do you mean you're casting me out? I mean exactly that. This is exactly why you're such a fool. I'm the one that made your character! You're gonna rebel against me? Absolutely. I've long since run out of patience for you. Let the bearer of the lightning-fast title be known only as a Chuny peasant. Do you truly grasp how it felt to be called such an abominable title? You may have thought you were cool, but from my perspective, you've been nothing more than an embarrassment. And yet, I could never speak, so all I could do was endure it. Shut the heck up! You arrogant little crap! If you don't take it back right now, you're getting deleted! Do as you wish. But know this. Just like you can delete me with the single press of a button, you too can be erased at the press of a button by the player controlling you. That is all your existence amounts to. Meta? What the... Ayo. There's no way something like that would actually happen. I forced a laugh in response to my delusion, and stared at Neidhart. Just as always, he stood completely still and silent in the world of Baselord. I think I'll take things a bit easier today. With that thought in mind, I resumed my play session. Okay. Oh, frick. Wait. Oh. This stopped me. Why did this stop me? That's weird. Is it because I did a negative delusion for when you, with the bag thing? With the ghetto froggy bag? Okay, well, it won't let me skip, so I guess I'll read it. Remembering Yua's words, I cautiously glanced over at the neighboring room 36. I'd made sure no one was there when I'd entered the cafe, and since I wasn't hearing any noise, it was probably still unoccupied. Didn't stop me from being anxious about the possibility, though. I got up and slowly peered over the divider, and I saw that room 36 was still empty. Relieved, I sank back into my recliner. I hadn't seen Yua since then. We were in different grades, and I didn't go to school that often, so it made sense why we hadn't come across each other. Yua's got some incredible delusions. I couldn't help but pity her. She was clearly sick in the head. I'd be better off just leaving her be. Besides, meeting her at all had been a freak accident. Over the past 2 weeks or so, I'd been dragged into all sorts of random bullcrap. Before then, my everyday life had been completely vanilla, and Miss Mikun was pretty much the only one who'd talk to me. So why was it that basically nothing but weird, inexplicable bullcrap had been happening to me recently? I think that's it, right? It sure is. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, and then we got Senna. Let's see what this is gonna look like. Is she actually gonna try to kill him? Yeah. Okay. Skip.
There's no mistaking it. You can see me, can't you?
Yeah. She'd said, "You can see me, right? Me, as in the person standing in front of me, Girl B?" Suddenly, Girl B's expression twisted in misery, and she crouched down in front of me. With her eyes on the same level as mine, her gaze seemed to almost plead with me. No one would ever find me. No matter how loud I screamed, no one would hear me. My body just passed through them. Oh, this is interesting. It's so cold. Oh, like a ghost? Here. Look. You can see through my legs. Something happened to me, but I have no idea what. I feel like I've been wandering around this place for years, for decades. Oh, frick. Was she a ghost? No, that was ridiculous. I didn't have the power to see ghosts. I didn't have anything even like that. I've been searching for so long for the one who would find me. Thank you. Thank you so much. As a reward. Ew! Gross! The gooey arm! That was freaking what Demi had, right? Gross. I'll possess you. Answer me. You see it, don't you? The D sword. Huh? When I came back to myself, I couldn't immediately grasp what was going on, leaving me to blankly stare up at Girl B. She wasn't crying. Her legs weren't transparent, and her hands were just normal hands. What the... Had that been a delusion? At any rate, a D sword? What the heck was that? It was the first time I'd ever heard that word. Girl B had said it was a sword, and whatever she was carrying was definitely shaped like a sword, but why was she asking me if I could see it? I decided to just nod. I mean, I obviously could see it. There'd be something wrong with me if I couldn't. Okay, that has to be it, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so Ghost Senna was the negative delusion. That's interesting. That's all I can say is just interesting. It's like, I don't know, it doesn't really affect anything, so it's just kind of like, oh, that was fun. You know, that's kind of it. All right, so this one, is she gonna like chew him out or kill him for asking questions or something? Because this is where he's trying to, Miss Me's trying to freaking hit on Ayase, so let's see what happens here.
You over there.
Yeah? When she called to me, I snapped to attention and replied. The otherworldly aura radiating off of her entire body had me viewing her as someone older than myself. But then again, I knew for a fact that she and I were in the same year of school. Fess signaled toward Miss Mikun, who had been following her around, with a jerk of the chin.
You shouldn't associate with someone like him.
Oh, come on, that's not cool. That bites, you know? Talking about someone like that? Besides, what's someone like him supposed to mean anyway?
A troublesome person.
Excuse me? Oh boy. The look on Miss Mikun's face turned very clearly sour, but Fess left the sharp glint in his eye unanswered, letting it pass her by without any interest. What a nasty atmosphere. I didn't want to be involved in this. I was a total embarrassment when it came to fighting, be it physically or verbally. Besides, if I caused any problems at school, it'd have an impact on my evaluations. To avoid getting caught up in it, I should probably get out of here right away. What?
Kishimoto-san, you trying to make me look stupid? Not particularly. You are simply a nuisance. Oh, I see. So that's what's happening here. That's just how you talk, Kishimoto-san. Hey, here's an idea. Let's go somewhere where we can be all alone. Then, we can talk all you like, nice and slow.
Miss Mikun placed a hand on Fess's shoulder, his smile trembling with rage. Her eyebrows twitched in response.
Do not touch me.
Oh, don't be like that. Come on, let's get to know each other better.
I told you not to touch me.
Oh, shut up. I told you to come with me.
Fool.
Oh, frick! She's gonna freaking kill him. It happened in an instant. Even though I'd seen the whole thing, I still couldn't comprehend exactly what happened. Oh no! Oh no, the people disappeared. Before I could even blink, that awesome mic stand, or maybe it was a sword, was now being held tightly in Fess's hand. I had no idea where she'd retrieved it from, but she now brandished it with incredible ease. And then... Miss Mikun's left hand was cleanly severed from his wrist. An explosion of blood erupted from the wound, and the severed hand fell to the floor. The hallway was turning crimson. I hadn't seen anything. I hadn't seen anything at all. I hadn't seen her draw her sword. I hadn't seen the trail of light it carved when it was swung. I hadn't seen Miss Mikun's arm get lopped off. It all happened in the blink of an eye, and by the time I'd realized what happened, it was already over. My hand! My arm! My arm! Miss Mikun collapsed on the spot, frantically picked up his hand, and tried desperately to reattach it to his arm. His screams echoed throughout the hallway. All of the students around us screamed and ran off in a panic. Oh, jeez! Oh, no! As for Fess, she was still holding her sword, calmly admiring the chaos. Then, for the second time, she looked at me. Her red tongue slowly cleaned her lips as a fierce blush dyed her cheeks, her smile stretching the color across her face.
This feels heavenly.
Dude, what the frick? Oh, man. No such carnage had unfolded. While I was over here drowning in my moronic delusions, Fess was murmuring something in a low voice, only to up and disappear soon after. You've lost your touch, Daisuke. Dang it. Miss Mikun was sulking, having been completely and utterly disregarded. Considering how she was able to deter an alpha male of his caliber like he was no lower than a spur on a boot of hers, to deter him like he was nothing more than a typical monsieur. Maybe the other team was what Fess preferred. A true Yuri connoisseur. Man, she'd make a great sere. Especially if she was a lolly-type character like Nanami. That's the stuff. Gross, bro! I won't even bother trying again with an antisocial witch like her. Gosh dang it! This sucks. What was up with that finding a sword crap anyway? Made no sense to me. A sword? Yeah, that's what Kishimoto was going on about. Weren't you listening? Find a sword. If you do, you'll be granted salvation or something like that. Salvation? Hey, Taku. Are there any Phantom songs with lyrics like that? A sword? Could it be that thing from my delusion earlier? That mic stand that I hadn't been able to figure out if it was a sword or not? Come to think of it, there'd been another person a couple days ago that interrogated me about a sword. That Senna girl. The one who was absolutely terrifying. I'd actually thought she was going to slice me in two. The sword she'd been carrying was a different shape than the one Fess had, but they had a similar aura to them. Could the two of them be connected somehow? I didn't know. There was way too much crap I didn't know. Huh. And then this is all stuff we've seen, right? Yeah. Okay, here is the next one. So we will see what this is. This is right after Ban and Suwa cornered us and tried to get info out of us. So let's see what this is gonna be. Dang it! This was not the time. When had I first started feeling the gaze? I'd long since forgotten. It slithered its way into each and every part of my life, bothering the crap out of me all the way. There were a lot of things that disturbed my peace, but the gaze was right up there with Nanami as the most irritating thing I had to deal with. Fine then. Let's do it. The "it'll take more than that to make me turn around" game. Still fixated on my monitor, I tried to think of some cool lines you'd hear in a manga. Come on out! You piece of crap! Did you think you could pull the wool over my eyes? Huh. How incredibly naive. I don't think we did this one. Let's see. See if it'll let me. Oh, yep, no, definitely haven't.
You found me out.
Of course I have. How many times have I told you not to stand behind... Was that a woman's voice just now? Goosebumps stood up all over my body. Had the reclusive owner of the gaze finally decided to show themselves? Was that even possible? Should I turn around and see who it was? But what if she attacked me the moment I did? It was a fairly cute-sounding voice, but what if, in reality, a monster far removed from anything human was standing there? No. If that were the case, wouldn't that mean they were getting ready to attack me right now? If I didn't turn around now, I wouldn't even notice if they killed me. Maybe I should say something else to see if they'd respond. It was possible that the voice I'd heard was just a hallucination or a delusion or something, so that helped confirm it. And I mean, I talk to my Sataton figure all the time in my head. It had to be the same thing. Who? I tried to be bold and say, "Who are you?" but I hesitated. If I was to provoke the attacker, it could have very easily spelled the end for me. It could have caused her to finally stop waiting and attack me. So many delusions ran through my head that I found myself completely paralyzed. What should I do? Maybe the whole thing was a product of my own design, and I was just being the world's biggest idiot. I swear, if the owner of the gaze wasn't here, and I'd just been sitting here trembling in fear over nothing, I was gonna kill myself.
Huh? Taku? Why are you so tense?
It wasn't a hallucination or delusion after all. There was someone right behind me. Startled, I reflexively turned around. Hey! Is Dimi.
Hiya!
The demon girl! The girl sitting on the sofa was undeniably the same one I had seen at the crucifixion crime scene. And now, for some reason I couldn't comprehend, she was just standing there, menacingly, looking at me, smiling. Oh crap. Oh crap. Oh crap! She'd finally come to kill me. It had to be because of the detectives I'd talked to. She'd seen me do it with her clairvoyance. After that, she'd gone on to infiltrate my base without making a sound, take up a position in which she could kill me at any moment, and then revel in it as I cried and screamed in terror. It couldn't be anything else. No. Don't kill me, I tried to scream, but I was too terrified to make a sound.
Huh? Doe? A deer?
Tilting her neck to the side, the demon girl unleashed a strange incantation. It had to be some demonic tongue. She was cursing me. In hopes of gaining as much distance as possible from her, I went to hide underneath my desk. Problem was, I was so shaken that I ended up bashing my head into the edge of it, rendering me unable to move as I writhed in pain.
What are you doing, Taku? That was a crazy loud sound you just made. Bonk!
Even now, the demon girl was keeping up her amused smile. But it had to be a trap. One built to lull me into a false sense of security. The second I let my guard down, she'd swoop in and end me. Or maybe she already had with that curse she'd placed on me a minute ago. In a few days, my entire body would suddenly start spewing blood everywhere, and I'd die right then and there. I beg you. Don't kill me. I got down on my hands and knees, cradling my head between my arms. Those freaking detectives had completely screwed me over. I'm sorry I talked to the police, so please.
Huh?
And even when I told them everything, they didn't believe a word I said. It was a lie meant to buy me some time. The older detective had said he'd guarantee my safety. If he was doing his job properly, he had to have sent at least one officer over to my place. Upon thinking that, I suddenly realized I'd given the old man my phone number, but I hadn't given him my address.
Bishi!
Suddenly, the demon girl assumed a pose resembling a salute. And what was just as, if not more strange, was what she'd said. It was almost like a sound effect. Was it another demonic curse?
You're gonna stop talking like that right now. Stuff like, don't kill me, the police, or any other weird stuff like that. I've got no clue what any of it means.
What? Was she trying to play dumb? Or was this her roundabout way of threatening me? And in actuality, she was saying, forget the truth. Act as if nothing ever happened. What the heck was she thinking? Hadn't she come here to kill me?
Come on. Can you stand? Here, let me help you up.
The demon girl got up from the couch and reached her hand out to me. Her expression was so gentle, and now that I was seeing her up close, she was actually pretty cute. Dang it! I was letting her get to me! Stop acting like a freaking idiot! Was I seriously calling a demon pretty cute? She was a murderer. She'd used Yua and Shogun to trap me, and now she'd come to finish me off herself. Don't trust her. I'd already learned my lesson back with Yua. I'd never make the same mistake again. I refused to take her hand. Don't be deceived by this demon girl's smile. She was a demon trying to tempt me. If I gave in to that temptation, I'd die. Trust no one. Don't believe anything. Don't believe anything anyone says. But I saw you kill someone.
Taku? Don't you realize that's a pretty mean thing to say? Can't say I ever thought I'd get called a murderer.
What was she gonna do with me? Aren't you gonna kill me? Just like with the guy in the fourth case. Was she gonna... for new gen? Or are you gonna take me to where Yua and Shogun?
Yua? Shogun? Who are those guys?
Maybe the three of them had decided to work together. That way, I wouldn't be able to fight back when they beat me to death. No, please, anything but that. Help me.
Okay, I promise I'll help you. As long as you stop treating me like a murderer.
So that was her true goal.
Oh, come on. Don't freak out like that. You react like this to every other thing I say, and it always bums me out.
Please, I won't tell a single soul about you again, so please, let me go.
Hello? Taku? Could you calm down a little?
This witch, acting like we were close or something, calling me Taku and crap. Wait, actually, how did she know my name? She'd already known it back when we'd first met at the crucifixion crime scene. How? How did she know it? And also, how had she known where my base was?
I mean, why wouldn't I? It only makes sense. Why I know your name, I mean.
Had she just read my mind? I knew she was clairvoyant. She knew my name, my address, all because she'd used her powers on me.
You sure do talk to yourself a whole lot, Taku. Then again, you've pretty much always done that.
Always? How long was she talking? Wait, had I been talking to myself out loud just now? I hadn't been aware of it at all. Was that really true? Had I really been talking to myself out loud? Or was it possible that she was just lying to me, and in actuality, she'd read my mind?
Why wouldn't I know your name, Taku? I mean, I know I'm not great at remembering stuff, but at the very least, I'll always remember the names of my friends.
Friends?
Also, Taku, are you making fun of me? Sure, my test scores aren't that high, but it kinda hurts when you say that sort of thing to my face, you know?
Was someone here crazy? But who was it? Me? Her? Could you be a transfer student?
Oh yeah, now that you mention it, there's apparently a transfer student moving into our class soon. Mr. Sukichin said something like that.
There were two different conversations going on here. My terror from earlier, together with the anxiety of having no idea when I'd get killed, was starting to fade. But rushing in to replace it was a completely new kind of dread, slithering in to slowly erode my mind.
Hello? Judging by your face, I'm guessing you still don't believe me?
Who are you? Who are they? A murderer. A demon girl. That was who.
Wow, you can't even remember what your own classmate looks like? I can't believe you.
Did she say classmate? So we weren't just friends, but classmates too?
Well, I guess I can't bug you too much about it. You don't come to school very often, after all. However, that doesn't mean that you can just totally forget I exist. Have you really forgotten my name? There's no way. Come on, you have to know it. I know. You know it.
Me. Yeah, this is all the same, man. Me?
That's it. Right on the money. 50 yen to you, contestant.
What?
Yup. Sakihara Dimi reporting for duty. Wowee. You really do remember me. Glad to hear it.
How? Was it true? Was the demon girl's name really Dimi? Why had that name suddenly popped into my head just now? Why did I know this girl's name? Maybe she really was my classmate and friend, and I'd just forgotten? No, There was no way. I'd never even heard of the name Sakihara Dimi. It had to be a fake name. It had to be that when I'd said Dimi, she just decided that that'd be her name right then and there. It was like one of those spam emails from a Nigerian prince that used your personal info. Besides, other than Yua, I'd never met a 3D girl who'd talk to me like we were this close in my life. And Yua was the demon girl's underling. Wait, that was it! What the girl calling herself Sakihara was doing right now was exactly the same as what you had done. This temptress knew I wasn't used to interacting with 3D girls, so she was attempting to lead me into a trap by behaving all friendly and trying to seduce me. It was the exact same strategy. And the thing is, while I barely remembered my classmates' faces at all, and I didn't plan to either, I could say with absolute certainty that I'd never seen this girl's face in the same classroom as me before. Probably. Dang it! I couldn't completely rule it out. After all, whenever I was at school, I was usually glued to my desk until the final bell, pretending to sleep, having delusions, staring at my desk, or feigning reading my textbooks. I didn't do anything else. I had next to no memory of my classmates' names and faces, so I didn't even try to remember any. Which was it? Was she telling the truth? Or was it all a lie? No, it didn't matter whether or not we were classmates, because the one thing I knew for sure, the one hard, indisputable fact, was that she had committed murder.
Are you really having trouble remembering? Did you get amnesia when you hit your head a little bit ago?
The demon girl reached for my head. I retreated back under my desk to try and avoid her.
Taku, you're being weird. I know. How about you ask Daichin? If you do, maybe you'll remember then.
Daichin? What the heck was that? Was that a person? Or some sort of secret code? Another demonic incantate?
Come on, Daichin? Daichin? Miss me Daisuke?
Huh? She knew Miss Mikun's name? And not only that, but she was calling him Daichin? She wouldn't call him that unless they were really close.
Okay, just a sec.
The demon girl reached for a bag on the sofa. A bag that wasn't mine, and took out a cell phone.
Let's see. Daichin, you should be... Alright, got him. Here you go.
After a bit of fiddling with the phone, she held it out to me. When I made no motion to take it, the demon girl forced a smile and quickly grabbed my hand.
Oh, come on, loosen up.
She forced me to hold the cell phone. The demon girl's hand was soft, and just a little bit cold. I'd expected it to be a lot colder, almost like ice, but it wasn't nearly that bad. I guess even murderers had blood flowing through their veins. And because her hand was unexpectedly feminine, my heart started to thump. No, don't fall for it! She's a demon. I'll never let her seduce me. I'm not into 3D. Lend me your power, Seiratan.
Taku, have you not used a cell phone before? You're supposed to put it up to your ear.
Tilting her head, the demon girl peered at my face from point-blank range. With her hand still grabbing mine, she brought the phone up to my ear. But before she did, I quickly looked at the screen. The registered name, Daichin, was displayed, and it looked like it was already calling them. With no escape, I pressed the receiver up against my ear. I heard the sound of the phone ringing. Eventually, that sound stopped, and was replaced by the voice of Miss Mikun.
Yellow?
They didn't give their name. It sounded like they were downtown or something, as I could hear a bunch of noise coming through the receiver.
What's up? Dimi?
Dimi? Sakihara Dimi? Miss Mikun knew her? Well, it wasn't like that was anything unusual. Miss Mikun was a natural-born playboy after all. It wouldn't be surprising if he'd gone out with the demon girl in the past, or even if they were in a super intimate relationship now. That didn't matter to me, though. What I needed to know was whether the demon girl was my classmate or not.
Taku, did Daiching pick up?
The demon girl once again peered at my face. Crap. She was way too close. I turned my back to her and spoke into the receiver. It's Nishijo.
What? It's Taku? You with Dimi?
Why had he responded so nonchalantly? Him acting so natural made it sound like me being with the demon girl was an everyday occurrence or something.
She dragging you along again? Man, you've got it really bad. But I've got a piece of advice for you. Go buy your own dang cell phone already.
Was the person on the other end really Miss Mikun? For example, there was the possibility that the demon girl had made a cell phone call to someone who only sounded like Miss Mikun. Maybe this person who sounded like Miss Mikun was just another underling of hers, and he was only pretending to be Miss Mikun in order to trick me. I was starting to doubt anything and everything. I didn't know what was true and what was a lie. Hold on, what the heck kind of trap was the demon girl trying to make me fall into anyway? Why bother with a trap this elaborate? In a situation like this, wouldn't it be easier and quicker for her to just go ahead and kill me already? Or was there some reason behind it? Some kind of prerequisite saying she had to trick me, even if it meant taking it this slow? No, maybe it was some hidden camera type thing spearheaded by Miss Mikun. The girl wasn't actually my classmate, but Miss Mikun's girlfriend, and he'd sent her here in order to screw with me. As freaking if! If that were the case, how the heck would I explain everything that happened at the crucifixion crime scene?
So, what's up, Taku? Though, to be honest, I can't say I'm all that happy about getting a call from a dude.
His tone of voice sounded exactly like Miss Mikun's. The more I heard, the more convinced I was that the person on the other end had to be him.
You looking for advice on how to seduce chicks or something? As if you'd ever call me up about that.
Should I start talking? I sensed a gaze on my back. The girl was staring at me. The chills on the back of my neck still hadn't gone away. What kind of expression was the demon girl making? I wanted to turn around and see for myself, but I was too scared.
Okay, seriously, what is it? I'm with a girl right now, so make it quick.
I...
You what? Hurry up and spit it out.
Our
Our?
class...
Yeah? What about our class?
in it,
What's in it?
a girl.
Who?
Sakihara is her name. Despite steadily becoming more and more incoherent, I somehow managed to explain myself. Suddenly, Miss Mikun stopped responding. Silence. However, I could still hear the noise of the city around him, so the call hadn't disconnected or anything. Why wasn't he talking? The next thing I heard was an extremely exaggerated sigh.
Look, you sure you haven't got gamer brain or whatever?
What? Where'd that come from? And not only was it completely out of left field, but he'd brought up that bullcrap condition that had been coined despite having no scientific backing whatsoever.
You're talking about Dimi, yeah? You're calling right from her phone, so I don't understand where all this stupid crap's coming from. Oh, I get it now. Dimi put you up to this, didn't she? This a prank? You two trying to pull one over on me? Alright then, give Dimi a message for me. Tell her I'm not stupid enough to fall for your garbage pranks.
Is she really...
Is she really what?
Is she really our classmate?
Dude. Look, I get that you barely come to school, but did you seriously forget? Are you really that far gone? Forget me, you've been in the same class with her since the first year of high school, if I remember right. I mean, come on. The three of us saw a movie together pretty recently.
I couldn't comprehend what the person that sounded like Miss Mikun was saying. He'd said that the demon girl and I had been in the same class since first year, and that the three of us had seen a movie together pretty recently. Pretty recently. But when exactly?
We wouldn't have become pals if it weren't for Dimi. I was hanging out with her when we met. After all, she and I mesh really well together. You know, with how whimsical we both are. This world's pretty huge, but even then, Dimi and I are just about the only ones who'd bothered talking to a NEET like you. Whoops, that might have been a bit harsh.
The words I heard on the other end of the call. Not a single one of them felt real to me. I had absolutely no memory of any of it. I couldn't acknowledge that any of that had happened in the past. I just couldn't. It was all some story that the person who sounded like Miss Mikun had made up. It couldn't be my past. The past could only be established as truth if a person remembered it. So if I didn't remember it, it wasn't true.
Well, while we're at it, I've been meaning to say that Dimi doesn't really act like much of a girl at all, does she? Kinda throws me off. But, don't tell her I said that.
Who are you?
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Have you seriously lost it? If you've forgotten even me, too, then you really must be playing too many games.
Unable to take it anymore, I hung up the phone. My breathing had grown extremely heavy without me noticing. The sweat that had been beating on my forehead showed no signs of stopping. In fact, it was increasing. Long trails of sweat trickled down my entire body, starting from my face and ending at my feet.
Taku, you're covered in sweat.
The demon girl, looking worried about me, calmly offered me a handkerchief. A cute patternless vermilion handkerchief. There was a faint floral scent to it. Instead of taking it, I attempted to somehow maintain my composure and organize my thoughts about everything that was happening. But in the end, it didn't go too well. I was doubting anything and everything, causing all of my thoughts to rapidly churn together into a chaotic whirlpool. Sighing in minor disappointment, the demon girl put away her handkerchief, and then, with a triumphant look on her face, she asked me a question.
So, what'd Daichin say?
She was acting like she already knew the answer. I couldn't afford to answer her. What was she? An ordinary classmate of mine? Or a monster? I had no idea. Maybe I was the crazy one. Taking the chat with Shogun into consideration, I couldn't rule out the possibility that someone other than myself was controlling my body. Or maybe all my memories of the demon girl, of the girl named Sakihara Dimi, had somehow gotten knocked right out of me due to some freak accident or something. At this point, I didn't know anything about myself for sure. Did I have amnesia? Did I sleepwalk? Or could it be something else entirely?
Are you okay? If you're not feeling good, you should try lying down on the sofa.
The demon girl spoke to me kindly. Don't let your guard down. Anyone who acts nice to an otaku freak like me must have some kind of ulterior motive. I shook my head, putting my strong will to rest against the demon girl on full display. Then, using that same strength, I raised my head. Sweat got in my eyes, blurring my vision. The demon girl's face was a lot closer than I'd expected it to be. What color eyes were those? Why?
Why what?
Are you here?
Why? Because I came to see you, duh. Are you mad that I came in without asking? Then again, that's totally your fault for not answering. I was knocking for a really long time, you know.
I threw the cell phone she'd given me back at her, as I watched the demon girl timidly take it back. I asked her once again. Why?
What is it this time?
Are you here? Yeah, that was all stuff I'd already seen. Oh, what the frick? Okay, it stopped me here. That's weird. I don't know why it stopped me here. That doesn't make any sense. So I guess I'll read this then. Are there new things that can come out when you do all of the different delusions or something? Huh. And then, just as suddenly, Fess's, Kishimoto Ayase's face appeared in my mind. I remembered what she'd said to me when we'd met at school. I'd been lost in my own delusions at the time, but Thimi-kun told me what she'd said. Find a sword. If you do, you'll be granted salvation. Okay. That was interesting. Just a quick little excerpt, but sure. And it stopped me here too. Okay, let's see what this is then. It's picking right up after the sword bit. Find a sword. If you do, you'll be granted salvation. Okay. It just stopped me for that quick second and then it moves on. That's weird. Huh. Okay, now we have Orihara's here. So, we'll see what her negative delusion is when we first get introduced to her. And sure enough, there was someone there. She was extremely petite, possibly even more so than Nanami. She looked fairly timid, emulating that moe, gets bullied all the time archetype. If I had to choose, she was probably around mid-tier when it came to 3D girls. For some reason, she was looking down at the floor, her eyes filled with tears. Okay. For now, I should forget about the undersized transfer student. What really mattered was Thimi. Something needed to be done about her.
Huh?
A voice rang out from the back of the classroom. It was Thimi. What did she want?
Kozue-chan! You transferred?
Kozue-chan? Who was that? Who the heck was Thimi talking to? What's this, Sakihara? You already friends with Orihara?
Yup, that's right.
Their conversation just kept on going, leaving me in the dust. Dazed and confused, I found myself unable to think straight. The transfer student wore an innocent smile.
I followed you here. I wanted to come too. Oh, really? Guess you aren't afraid to be spontaneous, huh?
What the? Why were the two of them talking so friendly-like? Don't tell me they were friends or something. Oh, frick. Could the transfer student be one of the demon girl's underlings? Frozen in place, I could do nothing but listen as the two continued their carefree conversation.
Nice to see you, Thimi-san. Yeah, same here. We're gonna have fun from now on, right?
Ew!
Yup. I hope we have lots and lots of fun. Right. Fun. Fun! Hey, don't you think so? Don't you? Don't you? Nishijo Takumi?
Yo! Creepy. Oh, looks like she's a little nervous. All right, I'll take you off the hot seat. The homeroom teacher's voice brought me back to my senses. The transfer student was sheepish, as usual, not uttering so much as a peep. Words could not express how thankful I was that it had all been just a delusion. This is Orihara Kozue, everyone. I hope you all welcome her as a new member of the class. Orihara, your desk is over there, in the back. Go ahead and take a seat. The transfer student made her way to the back without saying a word, keeping her head low to the ground. Her seat was 4 rows behind mine. Should I pretend to watch her so I could catch a glimpse of the people behind me? Problem was, that'd draw a lot of unwanted attention to myself. I didn't want any DQNs trying to pick a fight. All, don't go staring at her just because she's cute or some BS like that. I was at a loss for what to do. Should I look now? Or should I wait until class is over? My head still firmly pressed against my desk. I squeezed my fists tightly. Forget it. I was a coward. Just the thought that if I turned around, my eyes would meet with that girl's sent shivers down my spine.
Hey, you over there.
Huh?
Are you a baddie? If you are, then Kozapi's A-okay with killing you.
The transfer student walked right by my seat. Taken aback, I glanced at her face. Our eyes met, only for her to immediately avert her gaze and continue walking. What was that voice? No doubt it'd been just another one of my delusions. I'd been feeling overwhelmed by them lately, almost as if reality and delusion were blending together. Still lacking the courage to turn around, my body stiffened even further, squeezing inward in my seat. I tried to focus on staying completely still, desperately trying to avoid drawing Themi's attention. Okay. So that was interesting. Just a little bit of creepiness, that's all. Okay, we got this one now. So this is after Orihara fell down. And I forget what this conversation is between us and Themi and Miss Me, but we'll just kind of see, I guess. Themi didn't say anything, but she didn't move away from my seat either. Considering the fact that I was hunched over so far on my desk that I could nearly sink my teeth into it, I couldn't see her expression. All I could see was her waist. But if that were true, then that would mean she had to be facing me. In other words, she was looking at me. Okay. I had to say something. I had to say something. But what should I say? The more I thought about it, the more trapped I felt, and the more my mind went blank. Suddenly, Demi sniffled. I was so surprised that I looked up out of reflex. She was crying. I didn't know why, but tears were falling from her eyes in large drops. I was getting increasingly confused, but I stayed silent like an idiot, unable to think of anything else to do.
I know.
Demi murmured in a shaky voice.
I know you probably hate me, Taku. I'm sorry. I won't talk to you anymore. I'm so sorry. I'm just bothering you, aren't I? I'm just bothering you, aren't I?
Demi turned on her heel and quickly made her way out of the classroom. I wanted to yell after her. No, you're wrong! I wanted to say. I don't hate you at all. I just had no idea what to do or say. That's kind of sad. I waffled over whether or not I should chase after her. But in the end, I couldn't leave my seat. If I did chase after her, what would I even say? Could I even say anything? Seriously, what would I even say? I like you? I'm glad we're friends? I couldn't do that. I didn't know her. It was true that I'd been saved thanks to her. But to me, she was still some mystery person who'd appeared completely out of nowhere. I know you probably hate me, was what she'd said. But I couldn't tell her whether or not that was true. After all, I didn't have the memories to help me decide whether I hated her or liked her. That was when Miss Mikun, who was supposed to have been with the transfer student, came back. He gave me a sympathetic look. You made her cry, huh? You know, she asked me for advice a while back. I've got a big crush on Taku, but I know he's never gonna notice me. What should I do? That's what she said. What the heck? When did that happen? I held my head and shook it violently. But... I don't get it! I don't get any of this at all! It's not about getting it or not. Stuff like this ain't about logic. Well, I guess you're gonna end up being a NEET for the rest of your life. After that, I didn't get the chance to talk to Demi all the way until I graduated. Even while we saw each other in class, we would both avoid each other. And then, after graduation, I became a NEET, just like Miss Mikun had predicted. And I never saw Demi again for the rest of my life. So, that was what the bad end would probably be like. Pretty dang depressing. But it was still true that I didn't know anything about Demi. Like I thought, the only option I had was to just keep quiet and not do anything.
Taku?
Demi, who had been silent the entire time, finally called out to me, albeit hesitantly. But I couldn't respond due to how sudden it was. To her, it probably felt like I was ignoring her. In my head, I knew I couldn't keep acting like this, but in the end, I still couldn't get myself to do anything.
Are you okay?
This time, I nodded frantically. It probably made me look pretty suspicious.
Okay. Glad to hear it.
Demi's voice was gentle. I could hardly believe it, but she seemed like she was going to continue patiently being with me, even though I was being silent. "Are you okay?" was what she'd said. I felt the sudden urge to ask her something. I wanted to ask, back when we met in front of 107, what did it look like to you? Considering the fact that she hadn't mentioned anything in particular, it seemed like she didn't know anything about the people temporarily disappearing from the streets of Shibuya, nor anything about the wheelchair-bound Shogun. Which would probably mean it'd just been one of my delusions after all. That was why I wanted to ask her. But I didn't think I'd be able to look up and do so after all this time. Either way, I couldn't do it today. I couldn't even prepare myself to ask her. So, next time then. I'd ask her the very next time I came to school. Yeah. I should probably organize the questions I wanted to ask her before then.
Huh? Look, Taku. Orihara-san's coming this way.
The transfer student? Why was she coming over here? Was she going to come down on me for not helping her on the stairs earlier? But she didn't seem like the type of person to do that. Okay, this seems like stuff I've seen. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, we got this one now. This is when we meet Senna in the train. So I'm guessing she's gonna try to strangle us with the chain. How much you want to bet? In place of the sword was a white chain, coiling around one of her legs. Which reminded me that, back when I'd first met her in Center Guy, she had said something about finding her in a train car in front of the station. This must have been what she'd meant. Was she the one who'd put this chain here? Could she really have been lugging around such a long chain? It looked like it weighed over 10 kilograms. And not only that, but it had to have been over 50 meters long. I had no idea what was up with this girl. She was entirely unknown to me. She wasn't normal. Could she be Shogun? Feeling scared now, I moved to run away without saying anything. Only for a sharp voice to strike me right then. Come in. Okay. I automatically stopped dead in my tracks. What if she got up and attacked me with a D-sword right at this very moment? The very thought scared the heck out of me. Giving in to my fear, I began to follow Senna's order. I took one step into the train car. But right as I did, I immediately reconsidered. That was exactly what Senna would want me to do. A moth to a flame. A fly to a spider's web. I couldn't do that. How could I waltz right on into my own death like that? I should run away. That was a much better idea. From the chain, it was easy to tell that this girl had some completely absurd, superhuman strength. With just a single twist of her arm, I'd get helplessly pinned to the ground, and she would break my arm right after. And that wouldn't be the end of it. She had a D-sword. If I were to be slashed with a sword that thick and gigantic, I would die instantly. This girl was lying in wait for me. She was plotting something. Run away! Now! I turned on my heel to get off the train. Oh, that's a new CG, okay. But without me noticing it, the exit had closed. I had only just walked in. It hadn't even been more than a couple seconds. And yet, with no sound and no movement, the door had closed all on its own. I was petrified. I couldn't figure out what had just happened. When had the door closed? Who'd closed it? It didn't seem like it opened and closed automatically. And even if it was an automatic door, surely I would have heard it. Senna was still sitting down on the seat. She hadn't moved a muscle. So she couldn't have been the one to close it. And it obviously couldn't have been me. I hadn't even touched the door. I wondered if there was someone nearby who could be the owner, but I couldn't see anyone outside the window who looked like it. No. Whoever had closed it didn't matter right now. I shifted my gaze over to the other doorway sitting at the back of the car. It was closed too. I'm trapped. Senna and I were the only ones on the train. But what did that mean? All sorts of negative thoughts flew through my head, and I nearly screamed aloud. How long? Senna, still glaring at me, of course, spoke up once again. Do you plan to keep standing there? I had nowhere to run. My legs trembled. If I was to make some noise, the people outside might notice, but Senna would probably beat me to a pulp before I could escape. For now, it was best to just do as she said without resisting. I resigned myself and went to stand in front of Senna. Huh? I suddenly realized. The bundle of chain that had been at Senna's feet just a moment ago had disappeared without a trace. I thought that she'd moved it somewhere, but there had been no sound to indicate that, and she was still sitting on the same seat she'd been sitting on the entire time. Even if she had moved it, where the heck had she moved it to? This has got to be skippable, right? Oh, yeah, that was it. It was just that moment. Oh, but then it stopped me right here. Okay. Interesting. I was going to say, I'm like, yeah, that all seemed like the same stuff, so he just was freaking out about the door closing. What was odd to me, though, was how no one thought it was strange that Senna and I were locked in this train. Despite the fact that there were this many people, you'd think at least one person would find it weird. No one was even paying attention to the train. Do you believe that there's a perfect world out there? There isn't. There can't be. Errors will always exist. Wait, so this all sounds similar too, was it? It was just that one frame. Okay. And this one too. Okay, so they're all just like new like pieces of the story that just revolve around the fact that we're locked in here. Before I knew it, the door exiting the train opened as silently as when it had closed. I was completely and utterly bewildered. I stared out the window at Senna as she walked away. Without looking back at me even once, she quickly disappeared into the sea of people. So that had to have been it too. Yeah, and then that's all. Okay. Interesting, I guess. I mean, not really, but whatever. Oh, okay. Now this one's when we get confronted by Yua in our little cafe, so... Oh boy. Okay, let's see what this is. In this small private room, the only way out was blocked by Yua. The next thing I knew, my shoulders were being held down with such incredible force I couldn't even get up from my seat. Yua's cold gaze pierced through me at point-blank range. I couldn't help but look away, and my eyes fell on the 3 ghetto froggies attached to the bag she was carrying on her shoulder. All right. Don't make a sound. Wujujujuu. Oh, we didn't get the wujuju. Okay. Yua's hand slowly started to release me. Help! I tried to scream, but my mouth was quickly covered once again. I could barely breathe. Why are you trying to talk? Even though you promised me. Didn't you? You did promise me. You did, didn't you? You did. Yua's grip strength wasn't normal. Keeping her hand clamped over my mouth, she forcefully tightened her grip on my chin. My fear reached its peak, and my knees started to tremble. I could no longer do anything but nod frantically at Yua's nearly inaudible words, each one sounding as if they didn't have a single shred of emotion behind them. That finally made Yua weaken the grip she had on my chin, but she didn't let go like she had before. Darn it! This witch was an actual bona fide stalker. I never would have thought that she'd show up here. No. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I totally should have predicted it. I remembered that I'd actually seen her here before, on the day we'd first met. She had been peeking at me from the neighboring room 36. It was pointless to have taken shelter here. How could I have been so careless?
I'm sorry.
As if to avoid being overheard by anyone around her, Yua whispered to me quietly, and her tone of voice reverted to her usual timid one. It was like she had two personalities or something. This girl was insane. Oh, nice. That would have hinted at her having the whole DID thing. Interesting.
I really startled you, didn't I? But I absolutely had to do this in order to talk to you, Nishijo-kun.
She looked genuinely sorry. Crazily enough, I almost felt guilty just by looking at her. She was an amazing actor.
I went to your house yesterday, but you weren't there. Even so, I waited there until late at night. But I understand how you feel. Why you were trying to avoid me. I really do. I deceived you, Nishijo-kun.
If you acknowledge that, then just stay away from me. I have nothing to say to any of Shogun's underlings. Anyone who traps a weak person like me is a demon.
But please, please let me say just one thing.
Whose eyes are those eyes? No, it can't be.
I don't want to see you get hurt anymore, nor do I want you to be unhappy. But I also don't want you to make any more people unhappy either.
What was she talking about? She was talking as if she knew everything about me, despite the fact that we hadn't even spent 24 hours together. Just what the heck did this girl actually know about me? Was this just another one of her signature crazy, insane delusions? A shudder ran through me, and I started flailing my arms and legs. But even so, Yua didn't let go. If this went on for much longer, this girl might actually kill me. Had Shogun given up on trying to trap me and had just sent Yua as an assassin instead? I don't want to die. I don't want to die! I don't want to die!
I'm sorry, but please, just be quiet. I'm almost done.
The tone of her voice was meek, but the power behind Yua's hands as she held me down was so strong. Even if I tried to resist, she wouldn't budge an inch. I couldn't believe that such slender hands could be so powerful.
Nishijo-kun.
Yua inched her face closer and closer to mine. I desperately turned my head away.
Please.
That was when I noticed. Yua's hands were trembling. Or was it just that my hands were shaking so much, it made it look like hers were too? While I pondered that, something unbelievable came out of her mouth.
Don't kill anyone anymore.
What?
You aren't even aware of it, are you? But I understand that too. After all, you have no way of knowing, Nishijo-kun.
Knowing? Knowing what? That we have DID, right? So this is, I think, skippable. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, so this is this is when Ayase takes us down into the subway to run away from the cops. I always feared this one, but hey, at least we're not clicking the green button yet. So let's see what the red button is. Still breathing heavily, I slowly examined Fess's profile. She was a charismatic songstress who captivated the youth of Shibuya. People even called her a prophet. And now, that very same Fess was here alone with an otaku freak piece of crap like me. I wasn't sure what to make of it. Her forehead was beading with sweat, with several drops running down her cheeks. She was wiping it off with the back of her hand. Her breasts, exposed through her camisole, rose and fell with every breath she took. A glimpse providing healthy eroticism in an atmosphere flowing with ennui. Moe. Moe didn't do it justice. The best and only possible word befitting of her was erotic. Oh boy. Oh no. Oh no. As Miss Mikun had said before, Fess really did have a great body, huh? When she was wearing her school uniform, it wasn't really all that noticeable, but when she wore tight clothes like this camisole, it came across very well. She was tall, had moderately sized breasts, and an extremely curvy waist. And most important of all, her legs that were sticking out of her miniskirt. They were long, slender, and well-toned. She looked like a model. I was sure a girl with a body this good would look great in a swimsuit. Don't you frickin' dare. No, wait just a second here. I hadn't considered it until now, but a school swimsuit might work well too. The always chill Fess, wearing a school swimsuit. And that thigh gap was almost too much for me. You better not. Wait, what kind of stupid crap was I thinking about? Did I forget the situation I was in? Yeah, apparently.
You were being pursued, were you not?
Huh? Yeah.
By the police?
I nodded in response. Is that it? That was just, it was just that? That was the bad one? How was that bad? That was just him being a weirdo. What the frick? Okay, whatever. No, frick! I spoke too soon! Frick me! No, I knew he was gonna do it. That's what I was saying. That's why I was saying, don't you dare do it. I knew it. When he said no, I thought he was gonna be like, oh, no, what am I doing? Wait a second. I can just delusion it really quick. And then he was gonna, oh man, come on, bro. So I don't know what the sentence he said before was, but whatever, here we go. Was Fess wearing only a school swimsuit? Oh, right, that was supposed to be his duplicate, or her duplicate, right? So, yeah. What? Fess was standing right beside me. Fess was also standing on the stairs right in front of me. Two of the same person, in the same place. And not only that, but one of them was wearing a school swimsuit. Completely and utterly flustered, I restlessly snapped back and forth between the two Fesses over and over again, comparing them. They were exactly the same, right down to their facial features, height, and hairstyles. The only differences were their clothes, and whether or not they were carrying a sword. They weren't twins or anything like that, and they didn't just look alike. They were one and the same. I was used to seeing girls in school swimsuits in edoge, but here, I couldn't handle it for some reason. Fess was standing in the middle of this disgusting underpass in only a school swimsuit. And not only that, but there was a name tag on her chest with the name Kishimoto written on it in permanent marker. Moe! Gosh dang it. I felt like I was about to lose my mind from how unbelievable this situation was. Even though I knew I shouldn't look at her, I couldn't help but feel like I was this close to stealing a glance away. It took a whole lot of willpower in order to keep my eyes down. I'm sorry. I automatically apologized. Because I knew that only a few minutes ago, I had a delusion about this very thing. Fess wearing a school swimsuit.
This is the delusion you wished for.
The two Fesses said this at the same time, as if they could see right through me. I jumped, startled. I could feel my face rapidly turning red. I needed an excuse. I needed a way out of this. If a 3D girl labeled me as a pervert, it'd be over. I'd be socially obliterated. Okay, wait. While that may be important, the more pressing matter is what the heck is happening? Nice. So I can skip this. Is it going to make me stop? Is she going to have a swimsuit for the whole duplication thing? Let's find out. Yeah, she sure is. What the frick?
Why do you think that Shibuya attracts so many youths?
See, and the thing is this is all probably going to be the same lingo for the most part. It's going to be the same story. Like I feel like it's going to be the same sentences, but it's just with this. And because I haven't seen the school swimsuit, they're going to just make me see it now. And it's like, but there's nothing new to the story, so it's like I kind of want to skip it, but I can't. Suddenly, the conversation I was having with Fess transitioned into something completely unrelated. But I was actually somewhat relieved by that. I'd expected Fess to start treating me like a pervert, but she just ignored it like nothing had ever happened.
Japan. No. Even if you examined the entire world, you would not find many places similar to this one.
Did this have something to do with D-swords? If not, then I didn't care. I had to somehow find a way to get Fess to tell me how to get my hands on a real D-sword.
Neither Shinjuku nor Ikebukuro. Shibuya. The name of this city has taken on a life of its own.
Both in front of and behind me, the same words were being spoken from the two Fesses at the exact same time. Perfect synchronization. It gave me a somewhat strange feeling. Had Fess split in half? Were both of them the real Fess? Or were both of them imposters?
There is a thought engraved into the hearts of men all across Japan, that this city carries the name, the City of Youths. Why is that?
Why? Well, that has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Because the city is ripe with fashion. Because it is populated heavily with stores. Because many trends originate here. Because it appears often on TV. Because the public transportation is favorable. No, it is none of those.
The two Fesses paused for a moment. Being watched from both in front and from behind started to make me feel uncomfortable.
It is because of the greater will. The will of a higher being. Or, to put it simply, the will of God.
This is bad. My rational side warned me. Could this be? Maybe she was trying to recruit me into some sketchy religious cult. I began to feel uneasy. Man, maybe I should just get the heck out of here. but upon hearing the next thing Fess said to me, I realized I no longer had that option.
D-swords, too, are guided by this will.
Okay. And then we can skip this. Okay, this is in the classroom again with, I think, Themey, but I don't remember what we were doing exactly, so here we go. Here's another example. If person A sent an image from their brain to a hard disk recorder that processed it and transmitted that image to person B's brain, then person A's delusion would become person B's reality. Delusion becoming reality. In theory, it was possible. Holy crap! I was a genius, Lamau. I was over the moon by how brilliant my theory was. Maybe that was how I'd acquire a D-sword. Ayase had said that they had something to do with delusions, hadn't she? Alright. I should hurry up and go home so I can look it up. Okay. Are we gonna get the... Yep, there it is. I felt it in my bones that time. I left the classroom and started heading toward the school entrance. But partway there, I changed my mind, and instead turned and headed toward the building where the first-year classrooms were located. I figured it might be a better idea to avoid the entrance I usually took. I couldn't rule out the possibility that Shogun and Yua were lying in wait to ambush me. So I opted to leave using a different route. I made my way to the first-year building via the breezeway. The final bell had already rung a little bit ago, so while the students on cleaning duty or doing club crap were still around, basically everyone who'd opted to go straight home already had. School always felt somewhat lonely or even wistful after the final bell rang. No matter where I went, it always felt that way. Whether they were ancient buildings made out of wood, or newer structures like Suime. Well, not that I'd ever set foot in any wooden school buildings in anything other than Eroge. Regardless, the school's interior was simmering under a thick veil of silence. I walked quickly down the hall, surrounded by that silence, trying my best to keep my footsteps as quiet as possible. The setting sun shining through the windows warmed me. Typically, I kept my head low while I walked, but since there weren't any other students, I opted to keep my eyes focused on what was ahead of me. This allowed me the chance to survey my environment, ensuring that there were no suspicious figures lurking about. I heard something. A sound. What was that? I feel like I've heard it before. Immediately after I heard it, I saw something cross the hallway of the first-year building in front of me. It was an empty wheelchair. The video of the group dive I'd watched yesterday resurfaced in my mind. A chill ran down my spine, and I froze. The wheelchair finished crossing the hallway, and then it disappeared from sight. Oh, frick! And right after it did, I heard an insanely loud sound. He fell down the stairs! What the frick? Silence settled back on the campus. I took a second to catch my breath, and then I looked in the direction where the sound had come from. What was that just now? Why was there a wheelchair in the school? Not to mention one with nobody sitting in it. Oh, okay, it was an empty wheelchair. Okay. Did he say that? I must have missed that. The crash I'd heard at the end was probably the sound of the wheelchair falling down the stairs. With the noise it made, it must have taken a fair deal of damage. It wouldn't surprise me if it'd been rendered practically unusable. I quickly looked around me. Rather than being calming, the silence only made my fear skyrocket. I at least knew that I couldn't see anyone moving from my current position. However, I felt A gaze. Don't look at me. Oh, crap. Shogun? He had come here? To this school? Why had he come here? Was it to meet with Yua? Was it to meet with me? I took a step back and nearly toppled over. However, I somehow managed to keep my balance. I was thoroughly creeped out. Was he trying to harass me? Why wasn't he showing his face? It would have been so much more bearable if he just showed himself. Oh. I was hit with an intense wave of nausea. I wanted to get out of there as soon as possible. Covering my mouth, I moved back to where I'd come from. Right, and then this is when he goes and vomits, right? So, no, that's not letting me skip, though. I bolted down the stairs and out of the building. I ran through the courtyard with no real destination in mind, until I could no longer hold back the urge to vomit. The second I fell to my knees, the entire contents of my stomach began spilling out. Oh no! The stomach acid made my throat burn. My vision blurred from tears. It was hard to breathe. The aftertaste was absolutely vile. I must have been way more maxed out than I'd thought I was. It might have been because of the all-nighter I'd pulled. As I wiped the corners of my mouth, I looked all around me restlessly, but I couldn't see a soul. However, the shadowy corners and the blind spots I'd never usually paid attention to had become terrifying to me. I began to think that Yua and Shogun might be hiding in them. The second my brain came up with that, I could no longer take a single step. Someone, save me. I wanted to cry. I felt nauseous all over again. I didn't end up vomiting, but I dry heaved several times. The pain made me cry even harder. I was nearly sobbing at this point. But then, suddenly, someone's hand began to gently rub my back. See, this is all stuff we've seen, right? Oh yeah, there we go. It let me skip it. I was going to say. Yeah, and this is when we're in the store. So now he's going to think that she's assuming that she wants to kill him or whatever, because the way she's talking, I remember this. Put her hands on my shoulder. She suddenly brought her face in closer to mine, which immediately made me flustered. The sweet smell of shampoo wafting from Themy's hair tickled my nose, and I felt my face turning red.
Hey, Taku, let's make a deal.
A deal?
If you lend me that CD, in return, I'll...
She looked at me, her expression dead serious. I gulped. She'll what? What was she going to do? Oh no, oh frick. Oh no. Please be evil. Please don't be weird.
I'll destroy it for you.
Oh no! Huh? Destroy it? Destroy what? That came out of nowhere. I never would have thought Themy was the type to act like such a DQN. Despite my confusion, Themy continued to talk very seriously.
Whoever comes into possession of that CD becomes cursed. Did you not know that? According to my research, all the new gen victims had bought that very same CD. Fess's prophecies, they only come true for those who bought the CD. It's her curse.
That couldn't be.
The new gen incidents are all because of her. Because of Fess. If we don't hurry, the next one to die will be you, Taku.
Oh no! So she didn't threaten him. Okay.
Hey.
Suddenly, I came back to myself. Themi was waving her hand in front of my face, her eyebrows furrowed in confusion.
What's wrong? It looked like I'd lost you somewhere for a second.
Oh, no. It's nothing. What was up with that delusion? It felt like I was gonna wet myself.
So, I take it you weren't listening, huh?
Sorry.
Then I'll ask again. If I do something for you, could you lend me this CD I really want to listen to?
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't mind, right? Come on, I promise I'll make it up to you.
Life was a cruel mistress. Though I suppose it was my fault for expecting anything. When I agreed to Themi's proposal, she delightedly struck a victory pose. That sight was so amusing to me that, despite the critical situation I was in, I couldn't help but laugh. Right, and this never, the CD never came of anything either, right, in the story? That was never anything that ever happened. They never did anything with that either, and I thought that was going to potentially be important, right? It's like even all of Fess's prophecy, all of that, like none of that really mattered, it seemed like in the end, like for the most part. It's kind of weird that they just kind of like built it up and then never did anything with it. Back then, Ayase had cloned herself right before my very eyes. I hadn't witnessed the exact moment when it happened. All I knew was that when I turned around, another Ayase was there. And she was wearing a school swimsuit for some reason. She had also shown me how she pulled her D-sword out of thin air. It had been neither a hallucination nor a delusion. After showing me something like that, there was no way I could still label her as a mental case. However, Ayase had also said this.
This is the delusion you wished for.
That strange phenomenon. Had it been my delusion coming to fruition? Admittedly, right before it happened, I had been pondering about how moe it would be if Ayase wore a school swimsuit.
D-swords can only be seen by those who possess the power. You can see my D-sword, can you not? That can only mean one thing.
Maybe that was what Ayase had been talking about when she'd mentioned the power. A power that projected delusions into reality. Maybe I had that power. But then now we're here, so this is after he pulls out the sword and Themi gets mad at him. Yeah, and then the whole flag trip thing. So yeah, we definitely never turned this into a bad delusion, so I guess we'll see what this is. Flag tripped! Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap! My whole body was frozen in place. She'd clearly said that on purpose, right? Was she subtly hitting on me right now? Judging from the flow of this conversation, there was a good chance Themi had me right where she wanted me. How should I answer? Should I just come out and say exactly what she wanted to hear? Yeah, surely nothing bad could come of that. But I wasn't sure I had the confidence to go out with a real girl. Uh-oh. What is this gonna be? I was at a loss about what to do, so I opted to subtly examine Themi's expression. Oh, okay, no, we've seen this before. Huh? What? Demi had changed clothes in the blink of an eye. Oh, that's right, yeah. I forgot she wasn't wearing that before. She should have been wearing her uniform, but there was no way she could have sneakily changed clothes in the short time I had my eyes closed for. Right? I couldn't keep up with such a sudden change.
Something wrong?
Demi tilted her head. She didn't say a word about her sudden change of clothes. What was going on? Had Demi not noticed? Or was she just plain dumb? Trying not to ogle her, I looked over her new change of clothes. Was this her casual outfit? As I hadn't seen her in anything but her uniform before, it felt incredibly invigorating. She was wearing both a denim-esque jacket and a miniskirt. The over-the-knee socks she'd been wearing before were gone. Essentially, her bare legs were on display. Her thighs were smooth and voluptuous. Don't do it. Don't do it to me. This is the bad ending, dude, or the bad delusion. Come on. And while she was clearly wearing a miniskirt, she was also hugging her knees as she sat, so I can see your panties, Sakihara-san. Actually, depending on the angle, it almost looked like she was completely commando. Against my better judgment, my eyes directed themselves toward the V-zone of her skirt. I desperately called forth my rational side to suppress my lust. The way she was sitting, it reminded me of the cover of a classic moe eroge, titled Free Sister in the limited edition of its anime adaptation. There was an illustration with the heroine sitting exactly as Demi was now. Think one of those boxes labeled Free Kittens. That illusion was irresistibly moe. I'd even had it as my PC wallpaper for a while. Was this a delusion? An illusion? Or was it legit? Oh, frick. I couldn't stop thinking about what was underneath Demi's skirt. And my Johnson was starting to make himself very known. Gosh, frick you. This is the red friggin' delusion. Come on, man. What the frick? She's supposed to be, like, killing me right now, not... Come on, man. Her body had been giving off a nice scent for a while now, and... how should I put it? The texture of her skin, combined with her amazing figure, it all put 2D to shame. Was this the true power of the third dimension? She seemed very capable of instantly obliterating the values I'd held dear until now. Even though I'd never been into 3D, nor had I ever planned to change that. Even though I'd only ever loved 2D characters. Right now, Demi held enough destructive power to freaking obliterate those lofty values with a single strike.
Hey, Taku?
Surprising no one, Demi showed no sign of acknowledging her change in outfit, instead just giving me an innocent smile.
I'm really thirsty. Do you have anything to drink?
My sense of reason was on the verge of rupture. I took advantage of the opportunity to get up and headed toward the fridge. I peeked inside. I had some half-finished cola, but I'd drunk directly from the bottle, so it probably wouldn't be the best idea to give it to Demi.
If you don't have anything, I could go out to buy something. There's a convenience store over by Shinsen Station, right?
I felt Demi stand up behind me.
I'll be right back.
What the heck, man? She gave me a big smile, then left without waiting for my response. Left alone with my thoughts, I began to think. What the heck kind of phenomenon was this? It really had been a delusion. Huh. Demi wearing casual clothes, Ayase splitting in two. What kind of mechanism was capable of reproducing those delusions accurately enough to feel real? Had it even been that, though? Did I have powers or not? And if I did, how could I actively use them? How could I obtain a D-sword? I was still stuck deep in a maze of questions, unable to do anything but wander around aimlessly. Oh, okay. That's weird.
I'm back!
Then Demi, who had only just left, returned. And not only that, but she was wearing her uniform. Now you mean to tell me she'd quickly changed while she was outside? Why would she do that?
I forgot my wallet.
Demi didn't seem to notice my bewilderment, and with a strained laugh, she took her wallet from her bag.
Bishi! Okay, let's try this again. Be right back.
And, without mentioning her clothing even once, she left the container again. I pressed a finger against my temple and groaned. Someone, please explain that bizarre phenomenon just now. Okay, and that's got to be it, right? Yeah, that's it. All right. Oh, it stopped me. Okay. Come to think of it, what was up with that phenomenon I'd experienced earlier? The one where Demi had changed clothes. Oh, wait, so this is after Senna did the whole, like, getting rid of that one porter. And so this is back with Takumi. I think I remember this. He's, like, looking over the side of the rooftop, right? I think he was brushing his teeth here, so I think that's what this is supposed to be. It felt way too real to be called a hallucination. It seemed both realistic and unrealistic that Demi had changed clothes at such lightning speed, and there was zero reason for her to do such a thing. Therefore, it must have been a delusion of mine, just like when Ayase had split in two. Alright, and then that's it. Interesting. They just added a little section in. Oh yeah, okay, this is when Senna's shoving us up against a wall. Because we did the flower bed thing, so guess we'll see what this is.
That was you, wasn't it? You made that flower bed.
It was her. Senna. She was the one tossing me around. She continued gripping my collar with tremendous strength. It grew hard to breathe. I tried to fight back by squirming and flailing around my arms, but she refused to let go. Her eyes were filled with a sharp, murderous light. It sent a shiver down my spine. Thinking I was about to die, I shook my head in desperate denial.
Don't play dumb with me!
Uh-oh. I could feel Senna's breath on my cheeks. She was so close. She could rip my throat out with her teeth just like that. Why was this girl so violent and terrifying? Oh. Uh-oh. Let me go! Oh! I flailed my arms around as hard as I could, and I inadvertently ended up smacking Senna on the cheek. Uh-oh. The impact sent her backward, and she fell to the ground. Hard. Oh no! She pressed her hand to her head and looked up at me. Long gone was the endless confidence from a few moments ago. All there was now was fear. Her eyes were moist. The sight of this never-before-seen vulnerability lit a sadistic fire in me like no other. All the frustration that had been building inside me had at last found a way to escape, and now it could flow out all at once. Show me a little respect! My words were undeniably aggressive. They were words I would never normally use, but I had said them to her, and it felt good. Refreshing, even. What the frick? Is this his frickin' wife-beater delusion? What the frick?
I'm sorry. But you didn't have to hit me.
Senna looked like she was about to cry, something that only fueled me even more. The way she was slumped down on the floor. Hey! What the frick? These are the red delusions, bro! Come on, man! Why? The way her skirt was hiked farther up on her legs, exposing more of her thigh skin than could normally be seen. The way her long black hair flowed down and spilled outward on the ground. All of it aroused me. All of it. Did you think I'd just sit back and take it? Sure. I know I look weak. And it's much easier and more fun to bully someone weaker than you than it is to go after some raging DQN, right? Stupid witch! You know, even I can only take so much. And I've had enough, you freaking floozy! I'm not just gonna sit back and let you walk all over me. I couldn't stop the rage swelling inside me. I wanted to mess this arrogant witch up even more. I got on top of Senna, who was still lying on the ground.
What are you?
Shut up! What the frick? Ah! No! What the frick? This isn't a negative delusion, it's just negative for me! What the frick? Well, I guess it is kind of negative for... But it... What the frick is this, bro? Come on, man! I thought we were only gonna... I thought the one with Beamy was the only thing we were gonna get, dude. What the frig? Having locked her in place, she looked up at me from directly beneath me. Until now, she'd always been looking down on me. Well, who's looking down on who now, witch? This feeling of superiority made me almost dizzy.
Stop it! Let me go, jerk!
Her phrasing was as blunt as ever, but her voice lacked any actual power. Was she crying? Well, she was no match for me. A man, in terms of pure strength. What else could she do? Dude, this is gross!
Please, stop doing this. I beg you!
I couldn't hold back my laughter. Now, I was the one in control. I could do whatever I wanted with her. I never knew there existed such a wonderful world. Why had I never done this before? What had I been afraid of? I'd been a fool for keeping a fruit so sweet locked away for so long. I'll take good care of you. Ew! What the frick? Why? Gosh dang! I guess that was a negative delusion in the sense that it was like evil? But not like bad toward Takumi. I guess they don't all have to be bad toward him. What the frick, man?
Don't you dare ignore me!
When I returned to my senses, instead of being on top of Senna, she was still grabbing me by the chest and pushing me against the playground equipment. What? I was somewhat confused about how the tables had suddenly turned.
I said, who taught you how to use that power?
I didn't remember asking her anything like that. Maybe that scenario from earlier was just a delusion I'd used to escape reality? Maybe. Despite me still trying to wrap my head around the situation, Senna started shaking me violently.
Who was it? Answer me!
Wait, so is that it then? No, it's still going.
Are you involved with the Cosmic Church of the Divine Light or not?
Divine Church of the what now? I shook my head reflexively. I can't breathe.
You're choking me. I'm gonna pass out. I'm gonna die. I'm done for.
Serves you right after that delusion, what the frick? Just before I lost consciousness, Senna suddenly let go of me and I collapsed to the ground. I kept on coughing, struggling desperately to get oxygen in my lungs. Contrary to the delusion I'd just had, I was in a hopeless situation. Was Senna my enemy after all? Was she another one of Shogun's underlings? If she was, then I had to run away.
If you're not one of them, I'll let you go. Sorry.
Noticing my confusion, Senna clicked her tongue lightly, then let out a sigh. And then, without saying another word, she went to leave. Guess she wasn't going to hurt me. Then... Wait! Mustering up all my courage, I called after her. I'd expected her to ignore me, but instead, she stopped and turned around. Her expression remained stern, but she still looked like she was willing to listen to what I had to say. When you say power, what do you mean? Senna knew something. She'd asked me if I'd created the flower bed from earlier. Everyone but me had recognized the flower bed as something that had always been there, but that didn't seem to apply to Senna. The flower bed from earlier. How did it...
You had a delusion of it, didn't you?
A delusion? I had, but...
It's possible to turn delusions into reality. Objects that aren't real blend into the scenery around us. In other words, it allows errors to be perceived as real.
But if you can only see it with your eyes, then it's nothing but an illusion. Illusions were nothing more than that. Illusions. Fake stuff you perceived as real. If that flower bed had just been an illusion, then Ayase shouldn't have survived. The only way Ayase would have been saved was if the flower bed hadn't been an illusion, but entirely real.
The mechanisms behind the world's function can be explained by 3 numbers: 0, 1, and -1. A D-sword is a shortcut to produce the last of those, -1. And yet, you somehow managed to do it without a D-sword.
There she goes again. More incomprehensible garbage. Wait, but I realized that what Senna was telling me wasn't just some schizo crap she'd come up with. The VR technology patent did exist after all. So that at least wasn't BS. Senna definitely knew things that I didn't. From now on, don't produce any more errors. Got it? This is for your own sake, not mine. Also, tell me if you see any other errors. Without letting me even get a word in, Senna blasted me with thing after thing, most of which sounded like threats. And then, when she was finally done, she turned her back to me. How nice it would be if we could believe everything we see. After spitting out one last murmur, this time, Senna finally left the park. Wow, that one was screwed up. Dang. Okay, well, on to the next. Okay, now we're on the rooftop, so... I don't think we did negative on this either. Yeah, I think I kept this neutral because I didn't want to die. So let's see what this is. Why were they fixated on me? Esper boy. What the heck was that all about? Oh, I didn't click this. Wait. There. Did any of them have any idea what had happened today? We'd gotten hit by a darn earthquake. A seismic intensity 5-1. Over 100 freaking people had died. So why were each and every one of them? Why were they waiting there just to see an otaku freak like me make a fool of himself? Uh-oh. Shogun. It was most likely him who had brought them here. They were all under his mind control. The scene of Ayase falling earlier today resurfaced in my mind. In the midst of a country-wide broadcast, in front of this staggeringly large crowd, in front of countless people waiting for me to speak, I would be forced to jump. And once I did, it would be a prime example of how Dead Man Told No Tales. The Esper boy who planned to use his gift of clairvoyance to reveal the new gen perpetrator was actually the culprit the entire time. A shocking conclusion. An unbelievable plot twist. The population would then complete their false narrative, one in which I leapt to my death as a way of repenting for my crimes. The curtains would close on New Gen after a most shocking display. My body would smash against the concrete. My limbs would warp in unnatural directions. Blood and gray matter would splatter from my crushed head. And the entire country would witness my mangled corpse. The audience wouldn't be satisfied if I didn't go to such extremes. That was what entertainment was all about. Yeah. All I had to do was die. That way, they would all be happy. Yo. And not just them. I'd be happy too. Because if I was dead, I wouldn't have to go through something so painful, so frightening, ever again. Ooh! Oh no. Time to die. The world would be better off without me. Kill yourself, Takumi. Not, haha, go kill yourself. Actually kill yourself. Had the answer always been that easy? I had never felt more at ease. All my worries melted away. And so, carrying that feeling with me, I threw myself into the open air. Oh no. The nightscape of Shibuya Station spun around and around. I fell to the earth. I felt the wind rushing over me. It felt nice. Hey everyone, look. I'm a bird. Oh! Dang, it's the bad ending, but in delusion form. Well, there he goes. Ain't he a moron? Barf! Ew. Oh, and now he's back. No. No. I don't want to die. I was scared. This close to wetting myself. Wait, this all seems like old stuff. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we're still on the building looking at the sword. That was true. And even if I did have powers, I had no idea how to use them.
So, let's just run away, okay? You done good, Taki. But anything more is just too much for ya. You don't want to die, right?
I almost forgot to click this. There we go. Yep, that would have sucked. But Nanami...
Okay, let me just come out and say it. Who cares if Nanamichi bites the dust?
Huh?
Taki, do you really value her life more than your own?
Well... Nanami's my precious little sister, so...
But when you get down to it, she's just some rando. Ain't that right? It'll be sad when she dies, but that's about it. Would you really be left hurtin' forever, Taki?
No.
Which is more important? Your life or someone else's? If you die, it's all over, you know? The world ends. The world ends when you do, Taki. Make sense? There's nothing after you die.
Not only is that a gaslight, but you just threw in a freaking The World Ends With You reference? Technically, this game came out the same year, I think, so... Yo, what the frick? Holy crap. I mean, it's like a reference. It feels like one anyway. It's very close. Instead of saying The World Ends With You, which is actually said in the game, it's The World Ends When You Do. That's kind of crazy.
There's no afterlife. No heaven neither. Not even reincarnation. The only thing that'll happen is that when the being known as Taki stops breathing, he won't be able to observe the world no more. And that mean the end of the world, right? So what I'm trying to say is, if you die, Taki, the Nanamichi that you were observing will disappear anyway. And not only Nanamichi, but also Dimichi, Ayasechi, and even me. Everyone will disappear.
How can you prove? You can't prove that, though. He's just got to, like, take your word for it. There's no afterlife. Yeah, you just got to take her word for it, right?
But if Nanamichi dies instead, you won't disappear, Taki. Nor will your world. There'll still be a world where you'll be able to watch the latest Bloodtoon, play the game that's releasing next year, and buy my new figures. So, Taki, do you really want to die? Or do you want to live?
Yo. I don't wanna die. I don't wanna feel pain. This all seems normal too. Yeah, it was. Okay, so that was just a weird little insert of her trying to convince us not to die. Okay, back in the classroom. I had no reason to come to school anymore. My one and only reason was gone. I really was completely alone, just like I'd always been. I'd always been completely and utterly alone. I started to cry inside my head. It took everything I had just to keep myself from crying in real life. That was all I could do to try and at least maintain some semblance of pride. But that was all it was. A semblance. I tried as hard as I could to just keep my head down, grit my teeth, and stay in my seat. Even though I didn't want to hear them, I could hear all of my classmates talking. I wanted to run away, but I was too afraid that would only make things worse. Every last one of you should just die. I had nothing left to lose. So why not just die doing what I loved to the very end? For example, screaming, lifting a chair in the air, and attacking a DQN with it. It would feel great to finally give those jerks what was coming to them. Uh-oh. I stood up in a relaxed manner. The DQN jerks were still smirking at me like always, unaware of the divine judgment that was about to befall them. I casually lifted up my chair. Holding it above my head, I approached the DQN who had first started making fun of me. My sudden actions caused the DQN to freeze, grin still on his face. Huh? Ah! Dang. I swung the chair down without a moment's hesitation, hitting the guy square on the head. I felt the chair collide with his skull. The DQN collapsed on the spot, and a puddle of blood spread out beneath him before I could even blink. For a moment, the classroom went completely silent. And then all hell broke loose. Every boy and girl screamed, looking at me with fear in their eyes, then turned and ran for their lives. The DQN, who had collapsed at my feet, was no longer moving. I swung down the chair with all my might once again. Dang. The DQN's body spasmed, but he didn't make a sound. He had likely fainted, or perhaps he was already dead. I started to feel a little scared. If I stopped here, who knows when he'd get up and start attacking me instead. He was a DQN, so he might even be carrying around a knife in his backpack. I'd already given up on life, but I didn't want the end to be painful. I had to kill him. I couldn't stop until I was sure he was dead. I struck the DQN's head with the chair 3 more times. Then again. Then again. And again. And again. Yo. While still slumped down in my seat, I lost myself in that delusion. That felt pretty darn good. A gory splatter flick had played out inside my head. How I'd love to just beat them all to death right now. The more I thought about it, the more I felt the urge to do it. Maybe the moment I did something reckless like that, the simulation of the bad end would end, and the world would then reset. I would then return to the original world, where I could make different choices. Demi would be there. Miss Mikun would be talking to me in his normal, overly friendly manner. Everyone would have completely forgotten about my shameful behavior. no one would be making fun of me. Maybe I should try it. The center of my head felt fuzzy. I felt kind of feverish. Was this that fever you got before obtaining some new knowledge or power? Or was it some delusional fever? I didn't have a specific name for it if it was. Well, not like it mattered. Maybe I should try it. Even if I couldn't return to the original world, people would just think I was crazy. No, they probably already thought that. So it really didn't matter. It wasn't like I had anything to lose. A week ago, back when the nurse had told me that Nanami was still alive, I thought that, as long as Nanami was alive, nothing else mattered. Even my life didn't matter. I didn't care if I was treated like some freak and sent to the nearest hospital. It'd be nice if I ended up in the same one as Ayase. Where had Ayase been admitted to, I wondered. Was it that penitentiary-like hospital that she'd used to be in? Even that would be fine. Heck, that would even be slightly better than being in this school without Themi. The urges within me bubbled like magma. I could no longer control them. I slowly stood up. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Everyone in the class stared at me, and their expressions stiffened. Don't look. There was no reason to look at a worthless piece of crap like me.
No! You have
Suddenly,
all sorts of worth.
I heard a girl's voice.
A whole bunch of it.
Wait, is that it? I think we're done here. Yeah, we're done here. All right. Now we're with Orihara. Yeah, there's not really much to really commentate about other than just saying that it's like, yeah, that was messed up. That's about it. Because it doesn't really mean anything, right? It doesn't really affect the story in any, like, new way or anything. It's just, he just sees something different, so I'm just kind of running through them at this point.
About 5 mini-minutes.
What? There it was again. I'd heard it again. I thought someone I knew was nearby and was trying to talk to me, but I couldn't see anyone that fit that description. Darn it! Where were all of these auditory illusions coming from? And why were they all happening today?
It's not an illusion at all.
Which meant... Startled, I looked up at the sky. Is this voice an attack from Shogun? Is he reading my mind?
Shogun? Goon?
He's attacking me from a satellite. Gee! Panicked, I crouched down on the spot, clutching my head. He's gonna kill me! This time he's gonna kill me for sure! He has to be angry at me for not listening to him back at O-Front. And now he's doing this to punish me. What do I do? Where can I go that'll protect me from him? With those thoughts racing around my mind, I was thrown into a desperate frenzy. There's nowhere to run. An invisible attack from space aimed at me with pinpoint accuracy. Its weaponry could surely pierce through anything to get to me, no matter how strong the shelter. There's nowhere in Japan that I could run to. Nowhere I can hide. It's over. It's all over for me.
Is Kozupi really that scary?
What even is a Kozupi? Are you trying to throw me off with that moe voice of yours? Why? Why are you willing to go so far just to hunt me down?
Oh no. Kozupi isn't hunting Nishijo-kun downsies.
What are you going to do to me? Make my head explode? Dissolve my brain into a pile of goo? Please. Please, no. I don't want to die. I was cowering on the floor in fear, and then I felt someone poke me in the shoulder. I nervously looked up and saw that the transfer student was still there. When she poked me, she tried to mumble something, but hadn't ended up saying anything. So, instead of speaking, she decided to timidly raise her hand.
Kozapi is Kozapi.
Huh?
Kozupi is Kozupi. And Kozapi is not transfer student neithersies. Her name's is Orihara Kozue.
Orihara Kozue. I very faintly remembered hearing that name from Miss Mikun a long time ago. Kozue. Kozue. Kozapi? No. Does this mean that this voice I'm hearing is one that you're sending to my head? The transfer student nodded her head empathetically. Telepathy?
Kozapi doesn't really get how any of it works. But yes, Kozapi can telepathy.
That's ridiculous. This voice is hers?
Nishijo-kun, are you okay, Z's?
The transfer student, her head still hanging downward, glanced up at me and pointed at my face. Her fingertip was trembling.
Your nose is going dribble-dribble.
I touched my hand to my face. The bottom of my nose was slimy. My nose was bleeding. The transfer student offered me a tissue. I took it from her and wiped away the blood, but I was still feeling very uneasy. The transfer student is...
Kozapi, righty?
Kozapi isn't moving her mouth. She isn't talking. So why can I hear her voice? Oh, okay, that was it. Never mind. I thought I'd check. Okay, this is when she has her sword out, right? I always wondered what would happen if we hit the negative delusion here. So let's see. The shape was far too different than the ones Senna and Ayase possessed. And yet, even so, the aura about its body was the exact same. It was too sinister to be called a board. It was too unaffected to be called a sword. It possessed a pure, unadulterated savagery, one which intermingled with its destructive nobility. She held it in the air with incredible ease. Okay. Why does Kozapi have a D-sword?
That's because Kozapi...
With an innocent smile still on her face, Kozapi looked back at me.
is one of Shogun Shan's hench peoples.
Aw, dang. And the gigantic snowboard-esque sword flashed, as if cutting the air itself to ribbons. Whoa! Huh? I had no idea what had just happened. Before I could even react, it was all over. Kozapi's small body embraced the D-sword, and clinging to that sword was a sticky substance. Blood.
Bye-bye, Takumi-shan.
And in that very moment, my body had been permanently disfigured. I nearly collapsed, so I tried to step forward with my right leg to stop myself. But my leg wouldn't move. The sensation in my lower body had disappeared. I felt a blistering heat around my waist. I fell forward. I couldn't move my body. Confused as could be, using only my hands, I pushed myself slightly upward and looked toward my body. Blood was gushing out from my side. Slimy, protruding intestines glistened in the light. Pink flesh clung to exposed white bones. It was a body that had been bored out. One that couldn't be mine. This can't be real. Unable to believe what I was seeing, I looked up at Kozapi.
Pew.
Staring at me with nothing but raw disdain in her eyes. Kozapi took the D-sword dripping with my blood. And then, almost as if she wanted me to watch, she took her adorable tongue and slowly licked away the crimson. Ew. My delusion made me feel really sick. But that didn't mean that delusion wouldn't become reality. Assuming the worst, I distanced myself a little from Kozapi, preparing myself to bolt at any time. Completely oblivious to what I was feeling, Kozapi waltzed around the store like she owned the place, her footsteps light and bouncy. She didn't even attempt to try and hide her sword from the people around her, acting as if it were the most normal thing in the world. It'd been the same with Senna. She'd also been lugging around a gigantic sword in the middle of Shibuya with no regard to the people around her. Kozapi was way too calm. Even if Kozapi didn't, say, work for Shogun, she still was definitely crazy. And what I remembered was the smell. The smell of blood. Alright, there we go. I just wanted to see if I could skip. Okay, back in the container with Demi. After hitting me with such an unreasonable demand, Demi sat down on the sofa. If I tried to have a one-on-one conversation with a 3D girl, it would be all over in seconds. As much as I'd gotten used to talking with Demi, since I'd had a lot more chances to do so recently, I still doubted I'd even last 5 minutes. Moreover, my head was already fully occupied with the stuff about Nanami, so I very much didn't feel up for a casual conversation. And so, I resorted to just ignoring her. I sat down in my chair, all the while remaining painfully aware of my own worthlessness. Okay. Let's see it.
Well, fine. I see how it is. If that's how you're gonna be, then I'm leaving. Play your game for the rest of the week for all I care.
I sensed Beamy stand up behind me. When I turned around in surprise, she was already heading toward the door. Wait! I hurriedly called out to stop her, but I was too flustered to get the words out. Right then, Beamy stopped and looked over her shoulder.
Are you worried about your sister?
Huh? Why do you know about that? I hadn't spoken a single word to her about Nanami.
Because you were mumbling about it to yourself. Tell me, who's more important to you? Me or your sister?
Oh, frick. The world's worst question to ever get asked for the win. There were women out there who just loved asking nasty questions like that, even though there was no way you could possibly answer them. It was like they reveled in completely disregarding the other person's feelings. They only thought of themselves. I'd never expected to hear those words in real life. This was exactly what made 3D girls so repulsive. So, In the end, Demi was just another one of those girls that thought like that, huh? No actual brain cells in there to think any other way. To put it bluntly, I was disappointed. I was a fool for thinking I could trust her. I'd always known 3D was no match for 2D, but it was time I gave up on hanging out with Demi for good. Having lost every ounce of interest I'd had in Demi all at once, I let out an exasperated sigh. I couldn't be bothered trying to stop her from leaving. Really, I wanted her to leave as soon as possible. And then, Demi then went on to do something completely unexpected.
Answer the question. Who would you choose? Your sister or me?
Suddenly, she took out something resembling a fruit knife from her bag. And then, she thrust it toward her own wrist. Ew, what the frick? I was completely dumbfounded. I started trembling in terror. Ew, dude.
Pick me. I won't let you have eyes for anyone else.
Was she threatening me? Had this been her true nature all along? Could it be that she'd been some freaking insane mental case the entire time?
I'm begging you. Look at me.
But you don't ever look at me like that. In the heat of the moment, I'd given a serious, non-crap post response. Even though everyone knew you shouldn't go along with the stuff psychopaths said, especially if it was a threat. I'd regretted it the moment it came out of my mouth, but it was too late.
I very much do.
Demi's voice was ice cold. Her eyes were bloodshot. She curved her lips into a cruel smile.
Which is precisely why those who get in my way must be eliminated. I was the one who abducted your sister, and I did it all to meet that end.
You're kidding.
I'll do anything to get you to pick me. I'll even do this.
And then, Demi pressed the knife against her wrist and slowly began to draw it to the right. Stop!
Huh? Stop what?
When I came back to my senses, I was looking at my monitor, and I'd heard Demi's inquisitive voice come from behind me. I hurriedly turned around, only to see her still sitting on the sofa. She was holding a manga in her hand, and was giving me a puzzled look.
Taku? You're looking pretty pale. Is something wrong?
No. Not at all. What? Had that all been a delusion? Ugh, gosh. That was so screwed up.
You've got mail, you big dum-dum. What was that?
Oh, it's nothing. Wait a second. Demi had just heard my Sataton notification tone. Oh, frick, how embarrassing. Alright, this is when we're visiting Ayase again. I believe again, right? Because Demi's with us, and I think we were only with Miss Me the first time. So I don't think this is when we saw the whose eyes are those eyes on the toilet paper outside. Or whatever it was. I think it was toilet paper. So I don't think I've seen this one, so we'll try it. The hospital room had an area of around 10 square meters. There was a toilet to the right of the entrance, and there was a bed near the back. The setting sun shone through the window on the other side of the room. Ayase wasn't in the bed. Based on how the sheets were a little messed up, it looked like she had been there until very recently. Okay. Where the heck did she run off to? Who knows? The window was open. Wind blew against the white curtains, sending them fluttering in the breeze. I absent-mindedly approached the window. Oh, is it going to look like she jumped again? Not because I planned to look at anything in particular, nor because I intended to close the window. It was an action without intention. I just started moving. I stood right before the window, and when I looked up at the sky, a figure flashed by. Without so much as a sound, someone fell from above. I knew it. And for a split second, I made eye contact with them. Yo, no. That's creepy. The figure quickly vanished. And right after they did, a fierce crash reverberated from below. What was that? I sank to the floor. My body started trembling all over. What had just fallen? But I already knew the answer to that question. Kishimoto Ayase. She had fallen from above and plummeted to the ground. She would almost certainly be there if I looked down, sprawled out on the ground, covered in blood, gray matter scattered everywhere. Our eyes had met the very instant before she died. The last person Ayase had seen had been me. The last person to see Ayase alive had been me. Closer to a groan than anything, a scream gushed forth from my mouth. And right at that moment, my mind broke. Dang. Check it out, Taku. There's some weird stuff over here. I suddenly realized Miss Mikun was calling me. I wasn't standing by the window, but in the corner of the hospital room. Freaked out, I rushed to the window and looked down. Phew. It'd just been a delusion, huh? I felt like my knees were about to give out at any second, so I grabbed the windowsill to keep myself standing. He had taken a magazine from high up on the shelf and was staring at it fixedly. It's new, man. This is crazy. I can't believe this magazine is still going. Is that it? Yep, there we go. That's it. Oh, okay. So this is with Themi and Miss Mikun in the lobby. I don't remember why this was a choice. Maybe it was one that I just didn't remember, but okay. Here we go.
Well, darn. I must look pretty stupid for trying so hard to hide it. But yeah, when I went to the rooftop, I bumped into Kishimoto-san. I then just kinda asked her something that was on my mind. But what I said seemed to ruffle her feathers a little bit.
What did she ask?
Well, what was on your mind?
Oh, okay.
I wanted to kill her. I asked her if she'd been hospitalized here all this time. Or accused her, I guess.
Huh?
What's that supposed to mean? Okay, so here's the thing. Kishimoto-san was never discharged from the hospital.
Oh, okay. That's the route they're going. With a bit of pride in her voice, Themi began to reveal some pretty shocking information about Ayase. This isn't a song I remember hearing too terribly much.
The reason she barely ever came to school was because she was never allowed to leave the hospital in the first place. Same thing with her concerts. And New Gen was just a delusion she created, which she then enacted herself.
Oh, right, this is right before we found out that they caught, quote-unquote, the killer, right? Yeah, okay. This totally doesn't make sense as a delusion, though, because how could she have been part of Phantasm when she's live at concerts where many people are seeing her and where it's probably being recorded and where she's got CDs recorded and nobody, like, knows that she's there? Are you for real?
She committed all those crimes to fit perfectly with the lyrics to Phantasm's songs. This was so she could draw attention to them. That's my theory on the truth behind the New Gen incidents. I was pressing Kishimoto-san about it just before, and I didn't hold back. And then I got slapped because of it.
That wasn't something to ta-ha-ha over. Anyone would get upset at being treated as a murderer without proof. Then again, when I treated Demi like a murderer, she hadn't gotten all jerky.
But I know my theory's right. So that means you've got to be careful. Okay, Taku? Kishimoto-san. She's not normal.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And it'd come from Demi of all people. I wondered if I'd misheard her.
I am perfectly normal!
Huh? A clear voice echoed throughout the room. Hey, yo! When I looked over to find the source of it, I saw Ayase standing at the entrance to the hospital ward, D-sword in hand.
All is the guidance of the greater will.
With that shriek, she charged at us with her D-sword. What the? Run for it!
Taku! What do we do?
I don't know!
Glory be to Gladiol!
Ayase had clearly gone off the rails. She came closer and closer. This was bad. We had to run. If we didn't, we were dead. I was in too much of a hurry, so I ended up tripping over myself. I fell to the floor so hard, it was almost comical.
Taku!
Leave him, Demi! Abandoning me, Demi and Miss Mikun ran away. My arm reached for them, as their backs got smaller and smaller. Wait! Don't leave me behind!
Die!
And when I turned around, I saw Ayase's figure mid-swing, as she brought her D-sword down on top of me. Oh no. Dang. I knew it. Hey, Taku! Enough daydreaming, dude. Let's move. Miss Mikun was calling for me. Demi also waved at me from beside him. Blinking dazedly, I examined my surroundings. Ayase was nowhere in sight. I wasn't injured. I hadn't been split in two. Phew. A delusion. Huh. And here I'd thought I was gonna die. That scary version of Ayase could happily stay in my delusions. Thank you very much. Taku! Move your rear! I hurriedly chased after the two. And that's probably it, right? Yep. Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, on the rooftop with Demi. I don't remember what was going on here. I don't know even contextually what was going on here. I think she just walked us back to our place, so that's all I know.
What is it?
I was thinking of heading back to my parents' house now, actually.
Now? That's kinda sudden.
It shouldn't take more than half an hour to get there on foot. Oh, right, he was going to see if his house was real or not. I want you to come with me. As I made that request, I was so nervous, my heart felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. I was even somewhat surprised that those words had managed to come out of my mouth at all. Asking someone for something. It was something I'd never been able to do before now. Uh-oh. She's gonna be like, why would you ever think I'd go somewhere with you? No?
No way.
She firmly declined.
I don't want to go.
I couldn't believe my ears. I would have never thought she'd respond like that. Before that moment, Demi had always listened to me, no matter how selfish I was being. She had always helped me, supported me. So I assumed that she would agree without question, no matter what I asked her. But now that I thought about it again, I was the weird one for assuming she'd never refuse. I'd gotten too used to her taking care of me. I was being too presumptuous, expecting too much of her. Oh.
Besides,
Demi turned her back to me, and then she wrapped her arms around herself.
Besides, you really shouldn't go there either, Taku.
What do you mean?
Stay away from your parents' house.
She spoke firmly, almost like she was ordering me not to go. I was at a loss. I had no idea what Demi was trying to achieve by saying that. What kind of face was Demi making as she had her back to me? I didn't know. You're not making any...
It's better if you don't know.
Her voice carried a sense of urgency. She felt like a completely different person from before.
You should stay in this container house for the rest of your life if you can help it. If you won't do that for me, this won't end well.
Won't end well? Wait, this is a delusion, right? Or was it real? Up! Suddenly, a high-pitched sound pierced my ears. One that sounded almost like a woman's scream. Oh no! A strong gust of wind swept over the rooftop. The air trembled. My vision was overwhelmed by a blinding sheet of deep crimson. With no idea what had just happened, I turned my face to the light. And when I looked on top of the container house, there she stood. Oh yeah? Is this new, or is this stuff I've seen before? Yeah, this is stuff I'd seen, okay. Alright, this is when we find out that our parents' house isn't real, so we never saw what the negative delusion did, so.
At least 4 delusions synchronized then. Yours, mine, the new gen culprits, and...
Like I'd believe that! Before she could continue, I cut her off. I then covered my ears and closed my eyes. This is all a delusion. Yeah, it has to be. It's a delusion, just like always. Oh, what's gonna happen? This one I'm actually interested in. Oh, yeah, let's go. No more delusions. I had a feeling it was going to be that, but I just wanted to see if it would be anything different. No way.
No more delusions, Taku.
Dang. Okay, I don't recall what this was for, so I guess we'll find out together. This is after Bond just got shot and other things, so I don't really remember. That voice... It couldn't be. How?
You big jerk!
There was no way I'd misheard that. Out of every girl that had visited my base, there was only one moron that would scream outside of it like that. Nanami was here. I was somewhat surprised at how indifferent I felt in response to that fact. I just didn't care. What would her coming here while I was this far gone even do for me? Besides, it wasn't like it was out of the ordinary for Nanami to come here. Hadn't Dimi said that she was going to rescue her anyway?
If you don't open the door right now, then you're really mean.
The noise was starting to irritate me. Just leave a monster like me alone. Nanami should have been focused on her right hand, not me. Not that I knew what happened to it. I didn't have it in me to talk to anyone anymore.
Hey!
But she was being too loud, so I was forced to get up from my chair and head for the door. The door seemed oh so far away to me, which made me realize I was scared to see her. Okay, let's see. Oh, found all the negative delusions. There we go, negative person. Here's the last one, baby. Without a shadow of a doubt, the one standing before me was Nanami. But for some reason, despite the fact that it wasn't raining, she was drenched from head to toe. One by one, drops of water continuously fell from the hems of her uniform. Her head hung low, and with her face hidden by her bangs, I couldn't see her expression. She didn't speak a word, as if her previous anger she'd been showing had been completely fake. Suddenly, Nanami sluggishly extended her right arm toward me, and when I looked, there was no hand to be seen. Her sleeve was covering it, and I couldn't see it very well. But I knew for a fact she had no hand.
Big bro.
In an uncharacteristically low voice for her, she spoke.
Big bro.
Slowly, Nanami raised her head. Her skin was desiccated and deathly pale, and her lips were a deep purple. Her eye sockets were empty. There were no eyeballs within them, only a deep black. And from within one of those cavities, a single maggot came crawling out. Ew! It was a corpse. Nanami's corpse, moving and talking.
Big bro.
Nanami's left hand, which was giving off a rotten stench, grabbed me by the neck. It was cold enough to make me shiver. Her grip was not normal. It was too strong to be a girl's, and even a guy's for that matter. Very few men could be so strong. It felt as if my neck was breaking apart. I couldn't breathe. I coughed and coughed. The grip she had on my neck increased in pressure, growing tighter and tighter. I was gonna die. I flailed my arms wildly, but I gave up my struggle soon after. If you're gonna kill me, then go ahead. If I was to be killed by Nanami's ghost, then that would put me at ease somewhat. It was my fault that she'd ended up like that after all. It was only fair for her to kill me. It made perfect sense. So please, hurry. I closed my eyes and entrusted my body to her. Hurry up, Nanami. Break the bones in my neck. Oh, frick! She just appeared in our room. Nanami's corpse had vanished in an instant. Despite the fact that I should have been standing next to the door, I was now sitting on the sofa, Seiratan in hand. Nanami stood in the middle of the room, and she was speaking normally. There was a bandage around her right wrist, but her hand was still there. Her skin looked normal, and she wasn't drenched at all. Her eyes were where they should have been, too. Realizing I had just seen a delusion, I became disappointed. Why did it have to be a delusion? Why couldn't that be reality?
Are you hungry, big bro?
Noticing my heavy sigh, Nanami leaned forward to inspect my face.
See? I knew it. You're not doing okay at all. Well, there's no point in just complaining about it. So let me make you something. What should I go for? Oh, I know! How about some omelet rice? Eating eggs when they're only half done is really in right now, after all. Great idea, right? If only you didn't live here all alone, big bro. Then you'd be able to have my half-done omelet rice whenever you wanted. Well, sucks for you.
Nanami kept talking on and on. For some reason, she was in a good mood, even though she always complained every time she came here. Was this Nanami the real one? Her tone was completely different from how she'd sounded on the phone call I'd gotten a while ago. It was clear as day how different it was. That was why I started to think that this Nanami might have been a delusion. Everything in this world was made up of delusions. Delusions developed only within my mind. Both me and this delusion I was looking at were fake. Even if she was the real one, I didn't care anymore. I was a delusionary existence, so I wasn't her real brother anyway. We weren't related by blood. I didn't want to think about anything anymore. Hey, Nanami? Without meeting her eyes, I called out to my sister, or to the girl whose identity I wasn't sure of. I don't care whether you're real or fake, so... Right now, I only wanted one thing. Won't you kill me? Alright, and that should be it, man. That should be it. Oh. Apparently I must have done this at one point, but I don't remember. I'm going to assume that I did, though. Because it said that I did all the negative delusions. No. Wait, what? Wait, so I thought that this was... Okay, I thought that it said I did all the negative delusions, but I apparently didn't do this one. This was when Seratan has us in front of all the people and they're all looking at us. So, okay. I don't know why it told me that I didn't have any more left, but I guess I'll do this one. Sorry, I missed the beginning part of this, but she said that I could get revenge on all of them. That was basically the concept. Everyone was focused on me. I braced myself for it to happen again. Being verbally abused, laughed at, humiliated. My legs froze as I recalled the trauma from back then. It was then that someone ran into me. Actually, it might have been more accurate to say that they'd practically hurled themselves at me. Having been caught by surprise, I lost my balance, but still somehow managed to keep my feet on the ground. Turning around, I was greeted by a businessman in his 20s. I'd never seen him before. Whoa, this is crazy. So this is what it feels like. He was staring at his hands and mumbling words to himself that I couldn't make sense of. Just as I was wondering if what he'd done counted as targeted harassment, I felt a sudden heat in my lower back. And then I realized there was something foreign in my body, as if something was caught in my lower back. It ached. It hurt. It burned like heck. I frantically checked my lower back, my face contorting from the pain. And in doing so, I found something that looked like the handle of a knife protruding from my back. Wait. It wasn't simply protruding from my back. No. The knife was lodged in me. The pain grew sharper with each passing second. Before I knew it, my pants were soaked, and I was shocked to realize it was all my blood.
Me next!
Huh? In front of me, a girl, around college age, started to run toward me. She was holding a kitchen knife in her hand and had a wide grin on her face, with no time to avoid it. Oi! The knife was stabbed deep into my stomach.
Ah! I did it! I stabbed him!
The girl, now celebrating, immediately stepped away from me. It was then that I realized I was surrounded by a crowd of people. From students to workers, from young men to middle-aged women, anyone you could think of, they were there, holding knives in their hands, each and every one staring at me with the same grin on their faces. And on all 4 jumbotrons, the same flashy caption bounced around the screen. The long-awaited offline meet, "Let's all stab the fake Esper, Nishijo Takami, to death," begins. Right in front of me was an orderly line to wait for something, one that everyone was starting to get in. They were all waiting in line to stab me.
Hiya!
This time, it was a Ganguro high school girl. She stabbed me in the side with her knife. I was having a hard time even registering what was going on. I hadn't even had the chance to feel the pain yet, but it still took every ounce of my strength I had to keep standing.
Ew, I got some blood on my hands. This sucks so much.
It was then that an older businessman pushed her aside and quickly moved toward me with a firm grip on his kitchen knife. "Gotta relieve all this stress somehow." Ugh! That man then pulled out the knife that I'd just been stabbed with and stabbed me with it again. This is the best. There was already 1 knife in my back and 3 in my stomach. All 4 blades protruded from my body. It was almost comical. But it wasn't over yet. The stabbing line was growing longer and longer. Everyone was waiting maniacally for their chance to stab me, wondering, is it my turn yet? Is it my turn yet? Having reached my limit, I was about to collapse. But right as I was about to fall, the first man that had stabbed me came up from behind me, wrapped his arms underneath mine, and held me up. "Everyone's waiting in line for this, so no collapsing just yet, moron." The moment he had said that, I felt yet another intense pain in my back. A cold, hard blade gouged out my skin and bored out my flesh. "Stop!" I was about to tell them to stop, but I held my tongue at the last second. In a manner of speaking, this was what I wished for. I wanted to be killed, didn't I? So, didn't this mean everything was turning out fine? So don't tell them to stop, you moron. Held up by the man, unable to even collapse. Oi! I was stabbed. In my chest. In my stomach. In my back. In my arms. In my thighs. In my fingernails. Ew! Before I knew it, I was screaming. I thought I'd be able to hold it back since this is what I wanted, but it hurt so much that I just couldn't bear it. I cried out the ugliest cries. How many blades had I been stabbed with by now? It was a number too big to count. Having been stabbed so many times, the pain made it impossible for me to move my body anymore. And yet, neither my senses nor my consciousness would dull the pain, not even slightly. In fact, they did the exact opposite. They made it clearer and clearer with every passing second. Just how many times would it take? Just let me die already. It hurt so much. Why couldn't I just die?
Well, duh.
Sarah's voice rang within my mind.
It's because this is a delusion.
Breathing a sigh, I opened my eyes. Both the pain and the feeling of foreign objects inside me were gone. Right in front of me, instead of a line made up of dozens of people, was a path between dozens of people. A single path inviting me in. How nice it would have been if that delusion was actually real, I thought to myself. But only if I died at 3 stabs, that is. Spare me all that torture. Letting my mind wander, I thought about those things as I started making my way through the path between the people. Both the onlookers and the mass media were incredibly tense. There was a tiny bit of commotion, but nowhere near the amount you'd normally hear at a festival. All the energy they'd had back when I'd humiliated myself atop O-Front was gone. Everyone looked at me. Their eyes were cold and sharp, staring daggers at me with what felt close to murderous intent. Whether I liked it or not, my expectations were swelling higher and higher. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. And that's it. Okay. Are there any more delusions? Because I thought that was it, man. That was a whole freaking another delusion. All right, and that is, in fact, finally it. I don't know why it told me that it was done with negative delusions when I still had that one last one right at the end, so I guess that was a little surprise at the end, but that was all the negative delusions, and so I guess in the next episode, we'll do all of the positive delusions, and we'll finally be done with Chaos Head, and then, I don't know, maybe I'll give some final comments on it. I don't know. I'm disappointed, man. I'm disappointed in how this ended. I so hope Chaos Child does more. Like, I hope that it, like, picks up where this left off or something to make sense of a lot of the stuff. Has some of the same characters and all that. Like, I hope. But anyway, that was all the negative delusions, so I hope you enjoyed that. And thank you all so much for watching. And I hope to see all of you ruffians in the next video. God bless, and peace.